When you, the owner of a zoo in Chuanqing, were millions in debt, less than 3 minutes later, you were informed by the system, "Congratulations, host, for transmigrating to the world of construction and becoming the holy son of the beast taming sect. Please restore the declining beast taming sect to its former glory. If you achieve a 10-point increase in the sect's beauty of extravagant hope, you will receive a reward." However, just as you were happy for less than 3 seconds, through the original host's memories, you then discovered this was clearly a bankrupt zoo. Where was the cultivation world's holy son? Did you make a mistake? But wait, you suddenly realized, expanding the sect and recruiting disciples, did that mean expanding the zoo and hiring employees? At this, your heart was filled with wild joy. You immediately silently chanted to open the novice gift package. "Congratulations, host! You have received a novice gift package. Holy Son's Luck Jade, 3 pieces. Spirit Awakening Pills, 3 pieces. Beast Spirit Pills." However, before you could figure out what these treasures were, the door to the management office hall was pushed open. A beautiful mother walked in with her daughter. "Xiaoyang, I know you're in a very difficult situation right now. Selling the zoo is also out of necessity. To avoid being a burden to you, I'll take Tao Tao and leave now. I don't need my salary either." With that, she bowed deeply to you. "These past few years, thank you, the Chow family, for taking care of us, mother and daughter." Through the original host's memories, you learned she was none other than Sister Luo, your beautiful employee, and she was the one who had stayed until the very end. After the zoo went bankrupt, you sighed, filled with guilt. But then you smiled and said, "Sister Luo, I've changed my mind. I plan to keep running the zoo. If you want to leave, I'll find a way to settle your wages. If you don't leave, I'll owe you for a few more days." Upon hearing this, Sister Luo excitedly shook her head. "As long as the zoo is still here, I'm not leaving. You can owe me my salary for as long as you need." You smiled and nodded. After all, such a capable and stunningly beautiful employee, who would be willing to let her go? Next, you asked about the zoo's financial situation. "Sister Luo, we don't have any money left in our accounts, do we?" Sister Luo immediately replied, "We still have 6,250 left. We've been closed for a long time. The remaining money is still for the animals' feed. But actually, there aren't many animals left either." As she said this, Sister Luo's excitement also faded. However, you were a bit surprised. There was actually still money in the account. But the most urgent matter now was how to make money. You currently owed 14 million in debt, divided into 10 installments. The first installment alone required 1.4 million, with a repayment deadline of only 20 days. If you couldn't repay it, the zoo would be forcibly auctioned off. By then, you would truly have no chance of recovery. You only felt a headache now. 1.4 million to be repaid within 20 days. And this was just personal debt. Hiring employees, basic construction, and acquiring animals all required money. You quickly walked out of the hall, stood on a high platform and surveyed the entire park. What met your eyes was a scene of desolation. The 137 Mu Zoo, nearly 70% of its area was empty. Not to mention Class 1 protected animals. Even Class 2 animals were few and far between. 5 macaques were surprisingly the highest tier animals here. You shook your head helplessly. How can this dilapidated place turn things around? Just then, you opened the system panel. Host, Xiaoyang, holy son of the beast taming sect. Cultivation, mortal. Contracted beast, none. At this point, you looked at the novice gift package. Holy Son's Luck Jade, Spirit Awakening Pills, Beast Spirit Pills. Looking at these items, you instantly had an idea. You immediately found Sister Luo. "Sister Luo, deduct the feed expenses for the next 2 days, and transfer the rest to me. I'll figure something out." After saying that, you didn't wait for her reaction at all, and turned to go upstairs to the second floor. Sister Luo looked at your retreating figure, and sighed softly. What can 5 or 6,000 yuan do? She couldn't think of any way to turn things around. But this was your money. He can only let you do as you please. And you, returning to your room, immediately sat down cross-legged. The top priority is to learn the cultivation technique. The Saint Sun's beast taming art. This is your chance in the internet era. The only opportunity to make a name for yourself and establish your prestige. You don't have money to hire people or expand, but you can start live streaming first. As long as you can pre-sell and make the animals perform amazing feats, earning money and gaining fame won't be delayed. As the cultivation technique circulated, you quickly sensed a trace of mysterious energy. A spiritual energy vortex actually opened up in your dantian. The core of cultivation is contracting beasts, selling them, and feeding back to oneself. At critical moments, you can even control uncontracted fierce beasts. After cultivating for a moment, you immediately rushed out of the room and began searching for a suitable target to contract. The empty park was full of snakes, birds, and other small animals. You then first arrived at the monkey enclosure. And on those 5 monkeys, a vibrant red beast spirit aura was actually emanating. Red signifies that they are stronger than you and impossible to contract. You were dumbfounded. A few monkeys are actually stronger than me, the saint son of the beast Taming Sect. What kind of joke is this? You could only continue searching. Soon, your gaze locked onto a birdcage. Inside was a cockatiel, gray and white all over, with a tuft of silly feathers on its head. Most importantly, the beast spirit aura on its body was light yellow, meaning it could be contracted. You decided. Your first contracted beast would be it. Compared to kittens and puppies, you needed a bird that could soar in the sky even more. Just as you were about to contract this parrot, it suddenly turned its head and clearly articulated a stupid at you. Your face instantly darkened. This bird's manners are so bad. Who taught it? But you had no time to dwell on it. You directly took out a spirit awakening pill and put it into the cage. The cockatiel, upon seeing the pill, instantly went wild. It seemed driven by primal instinct, pouncing on it, its beak opening to an astonishing degree. In a few bites, it swallowed the entire pill. The next second, a rich spiritual energy burst forth. The cockatiel's plumage instantly became vibrant and colorful. Its eyes sparkled with vigor. Now! You extended a finger, and an invisible force instantly enveloped it. The contract was completed in 1 second. A mental connection was established between you and the parrot. Immediately, you used your spiritual sense to transmit a message to it. What are you staring for? You are now my pre-sale demonstration beast master. Who knew? The parrot actually frantically defended itself in his mind. Master, I didn't mean stupid earlier, because I only know these 2 words. It even flapped its wings, striking a fawning, flattering pose. You immediately found yourself between laughter and tears. This guy is quite clever. Immediately after, the parrot nimbly hopped onto your shoulder. It suddenly exclaimed, Master, my head is so itchy. Am I growing a brain? I can feel the wind. It seems I can even control it. Your heart skipped a beat. Control the wind? The next second, the cockatiel circled twice in front of you. Fallen leaves on the ground were instantly swept up, forming a small tornado. Immediately after, it used the wind to shoot up like a cannonball, instantly soaring tens of meters into the sky. At the same time, you also felt your body lighten. You could actually feel the flow of the wind too. Is this the shared ability of the Saint Sun's beast taming art? You had no doubt that your current 100-meter sprint speed was 10 times faster than before. The parrot landed on your shoulder again. You fed it another beast spirit pill. In an instant, its size doubled. Its tail feathers became thick and long, and its crest displayed 3 colors, looking incredibly majestic. The moment was right. You pointed at it and said, Your master is in trouble right now. I need you to be resourceful. You took out a Cloud Sea style map and spread it on the table. Can you remember it? The parrot, having eaten the spirit awakening pill, glanced at it and proudly replied, Simple. Very good. You immediately borrowed an electric scooter and headed straight for the electronics store. 2 hours later, you returned carrying 2 boxes. One was a sports camera costing over 3,000 yuan. The other was a MIUI network box. This trip directly cost 4,820 yuan, of which 20 yuan was a fine from the traffic police for not wearing a helmet. Without a second thought, you tied the sports camera to the parrot's chest and the battery box to its back. The parrot looked bewildered. Master, what are you making me wear this for? You, with a smug look, said, "Live stream." The parrot, confused, "Peck what?" You smirked, uttering 4 words, "Same city express delivery," just as you were finishing setting up the equipment for the cockatiel. On the other side of Yunhai, a middle-aged woman was pacing anxiously. Her daughter had left her life-saving medicine at home, and she hadn't brought her keys, but she worked in a remote mountain villa. She couldn't get a taxi at all. What was worse, she opened the express delivery app, but 2 or 3 minutes passed, and not a single rider accepted the order. Just as she was despairing, she frantically opened the Tongdo app and searched for express delivery. The next second, the first thing that popped out was surprisingly your live stream. An emoji of sunglasses. Same city express delivery. Direct bird delivery. Your live stream only had about 20 viewers. And on screen, a beautiful cockatiel, equipped with devices, was facing a mirror. Your voice off-screen was playing on a loop. "Brothers, new streamer here. Hit that follow button. Follow emoji, sunglasses emoji. Cockatiel same city express delivery, you little rascal." The bullet comments in the live stream were all full of doubt at this moment. A bird delivering packages? The streamer is just scamming for money, right? 9.9 yuan for sunglasses? Which sucker would fall for that? However, just as everyone was mocking, a sunglasses special effect suddenly appeared and stuck to the parrot's face. The one who sent the gift was precisely that anxious middle-aged woman. She had no other choice. Taking leave and losing pay was a small matter. Her daughter's illness couldn't wait. A pair of sunglasses was her last hope. You shouted from off-screen, "Thanks, blossoming riches. Give me the address." The woman didn't bother with a private message. She typed the address directly into the bullet comments. "Deliver a key. From Tongha Mountain Villa Resort to Building 7, Xingfu Community." The bullet comments completely exploded. Holy crap! Someone actually ordered it. Streamer, you can start your performance. If you dare to go offline, I'll report you immediately. But before you could speak, the live stream camera suddenly swiveled. The parrot had already flown out the window. After circling once, the camera sharply tilted upwards towards the sky. The fierce sound of wind instantly filled the entire live stream. In just a few seconds, when the camera turned back to the front again, the cockatiel was surprisingly already 100 meters high in the sky. A good portion of Yunhai City was visible below. The words "spectacular" instantly flooded the screen. Immediately after, the cockatiel rapidly flew in one direction. The scenery below rapidly sped past, so fast that it was just a blur. The bullet comments erupted again. Holy crap! This speed is too fast. The streamer is for real. Can this bird really find the place? Just then, a bullet comment floated by. "Brothers, I calculated it. From the rider's point to the destination is 24 kilometers, 19 traffic lights. The streamer is at Yang'an Zoo, still 11 kilometers to Building 7. The next second, another bullet comment directly retorted. "Are you out of your mind? What traffic lights do you need to wait for?" That one sentence ignited the entire live stream. Holy crap! This first-person flight view is truly awesome. The live stream exploded instantly. Bullet comments flooded the screen. The picture quality is a bit blurry though. Streamer, upgrade your equipment quickly. But while everyone was discussing, at the bottom of the screen, a resort villa had surprisingly already appeared. Everyone in the live stream was stunned. It's already here? It's only been a few minutes. It hasn't even been 3 minutes since it departed, right? How can it fly 11 kilometers in 3 minutes? This bird needs a drug test, right? The bullet comments were still wildly questioning, but just then, the bullet comment from Blossoming Riches popped up directly. Streamer, the service department is at the southeast corner of the villa. You immediately announced in the live stream, received, southeast corner. Find an open space and prepare to land. As soon as the words left your mouth, Zhuangfeng made a dive, heading straight for the southeast corner. Just as it was about 30 meters from the ground, a middle-aged woman was frantically waving. The next second, Zhuangfeng was right in front of the woman, making a beautiful aerial stop. The woman's face was full of pleasant surprise, shouting at the camera, Streamer, It's me. I'm Huakai Fugue. Here are the keys. You must promise. Promise to deliver them to Jean. Then, without waiting for the woman to react, Zhuangfeng directly extended its claws and snatched the keys. Then, with a surge, it soared into the sky again. You immediately shouted loudly in the live stream, "Target! Xingfu community. Guys, next up is low altitude stunt flying. Don't blink." This time, Zhuangfeng flew at a height of 30 meters, weaving rapidly among the city's tall buildings. The visual effects were even more stunning. At this point, the number of viewers in the live stream began to skyrocket. In the blink of an eye, it had already surpassed 7,600 viewers. All the new viewers were stunned. The most frequent comments on the bullet screen were 3 words. Is this a new drone? As a result, in just 9 minutes, the Zhuangfeng parrot had flown 24 kilometers, traversing more than half the city. The live stream's view suddenly descended, precisely landing in front of an apartment building in a residential complex. A girl was squatting on the ground, hugging her knees and crying. At this moment, you had already set Huakai Fugue as an administrator. He immediately posted a prominent bullet screen comment. "That's her. That's my daughter." The girl on the ground was stunned. She looked up and saw a parrot flying overhead. With a clatter, a bunch of keys was thrown directly in front of her. What was even more astonishing was that the parrot actually shouted loudly, "Your mom!" Because of that shout, the number of viewers in the live stream instantly broke 10,000. The bullet screen was densely packed with ha-ha-has. You could say it was swearing, but what it said was actually not wrong. Holy crap! This bird has become a spirit. How does it know those 2 words? The bullet screen was still scrolling frantically. But just at this moment, 3 moonlight special effects instantly exploded and filled the entire screen. A bullet screen immediately appeared. It was precisely that big shot who had made a promise earlier, keeping his word. Huazi presented. This bird is indeed amazing. Not only did he not run away, he even lavishly gifted 3 of them. This instantly ignited the live stream. The viewership instantly soared to 20,000 and was still rapidly surging. Just then, the system notification sound suddenly rang out. Sect reputation value reached 10 points. Reward received. Profound Spirit Medical Arts. This reward must be a good thing, but you couldn't be happy at all, because you realized the reputation value was increasing far too slowly. The live stream had over 30,000 people coming and going, yet the reputation had only increased by a few points. You thought to yourself, wouldn't the next reward require 100,000 viewers? But then you thought, isn't it just 100,000 people? Continue streaming. However, things did not go as planned. When your popularity reached 30,000, couldn't climb any higher, because the live stream's atmosphere was completely derailed. A drone live stream with so many people watching? This is clearly a recording. People nowadays are so easy to fool. And some people are even sending gifts. They're really damn stupid. All kinds of doubts and mockery flooded the screen, because only the first few dozen people had seen the parrot look in a mirror. Their explanations were instantly drowned out. You looked at the screen full of negativity and let out a cold laugh. So you directly spoke in the live stream. I see many people suspect I'm using a drone. Then I have to prove myself. As soon as the words left your mouth, you immediately commanded Zhuangfeng to fly in front of a tall building's glass curtain wall. The camera zoomed in. The Zhuangfeng parrot's appearance was clearly reflected in the glass. At this moment, the live stream completely erupted. Fooled now, aren't you? Proven wrong, aren't you? A bunch of jealous haters. Those who doubted were instantly proven wrong. The live chat was full of mockery. But you never expected this. Not only did those people not admit their mistake, instead, they flew into a rage out of embarrassment and escalated their attacks. What can looking in a mirror prove? LOL. Isn't this just a parrot-shaped drone? Clearly a drone. I'm too lazy to bother convincing you idiots. The drama not only didn't stop, but became even crazier. And yet, a bullet comment started wildly spamming, "Scammer streamer. Using drones to swindle money. Refund the money. End the stream." An ID named Ying Little Fairy was already so green with envy it was twisted. They frantically copied and pasted, spamming at least 20 messages per minute. Now even the viewers in the live stream couldn't stand it. Who is that? Can you stop spamming, please? Truly disgusting. A jealous hater. Confirmed. Diagnosis complete. I checked their profile. Just another wild boar fairy. I feel sick. But because of all this negative drama, your popularity remained stuck at 30,000. Yet you didn't pay any attention, and stubbornly streamed for an entire day. Finally, around 5 p.m., your system notification rang again. Sect prestige reached 20 points. Received reward, half a year's cultivation. The next second, a pure spiritual energy surged into your body. You only felt refreshed and invigorated. Your meridians clear. You immediately ended the stream. Before ending the stream, you didn't forget to mention the zoo's name again, absolutely not wasting a single bit of popularity. You often thought that, after a day of hassle, Xianfeng must be utterly exhausted. But he took off his gear and was still spinning wildly in place, flying and excitedly shouting, "Master! The feeling of flying is too wonderful." Your eye twitched. This guy isn't going to be a whirlwind, is he? Then you open the back end, preparing to welcome the real surprise. You clicked on the income and saw, today's Dolong income surprisingly reached 178,000. After the platform took half and taxes were deducted, you finally received 79,103 yuan. You couldn't help but exclaim, this money came too quickly. However, just as you were earning nearly 80,000 yuan a day, on the other side of the zoo, Luo Jing had just finished cleaning up after hundreds of animals, and was already too tired to straighten his back. Wiping his sweat, he called his daughter, who was helping nearby, to come home for dinner. Tao Tao innocently asked, "What are we eating tonight?" Luo Jing's answer was heartbreaking. Millet porridge, stir-fried cabbage, steamed buns, and a mackerel. Hearing this, Tao Tao's delicate, doll-like face instantly fell, but she still nodded understandingly. Luo Jing fell silent, filled with shame. The child was at an age where she needed to grow. How could he not want to give his child more nutrition? But there was no money. Then he led Tao Tao back to their living quarters. That was no home at all. It was just a zookeeper's lounge. The two rooms combined were less than 20 square meters. What was worse was that there was only electricity, no running water, and no bathroom. If the mother and daughter wanted to use the restroom, they had to go to the public restrooms in the park. If they wanted to bathe, they could only heat some water and wipe themselves down bit by bit. And for sleeping, the two of them squeezed onto one bed. Just as Luo Jing was about to use the rice cooker to make dinner, his phone suddenly rang. Luo Jing quickly picked up. "Hello." On the other end of the phone, you, the owner, spoke directly. "Luo Jing, are you done with work?" Luo Jing quickly replied, "I was just about to make dinner." He even thought of inviting you. "If you don't have anywhere to go, come over and make do with us too." But you directly interrupted him. "No need to cook," you said in an unquestionable tone. "Take Tao Tao and wait for me on the second floor of the administration office. Go now. I'll be there right away." Luo Jing took Tao Tao upstairs, but he had no idea what you were going to do next. Immediately after, you ran up to the second floor, carrying large and small bags. Luo Jing came down to help, and was instantly dumbfounded. Meat, vegetables, hot pot broth, and even brand new pots and electronic devices. His face was filled with shock. How much would this cost? Yet you had an excited look on your face. You stood with your hands on your hips and loudly asked Tao Tao, "Girl, want to eat hot pot?" To your surprise, Tao Tao's eyes widened. She curiously asked, "Is hot pot delicious?" That one sentence instantly shattered your composure. You looked at Luo Jing. You saw her face flush red. She silently lowered her head. You felt a pang in your heart. A child almost 6 years old had never even eaten hot pot. "Of course it's delicious." You immediately squatted down. You smiled and said to Tao Tao, "Today, Uncle will treat you to the most delicious hot pot." Tao Tao was so excited she was about to jump up, but then she hesitantly looked at her mother. Luo Jing forced a smile. She quietly reminded you, "This will cost quite a bit, won't it? We only have that much money in our account." You, however, smiled mysteriously. "Looks like you didn't slack off today. Didn't you watch my live stream?" Luo Jing looked puzzled. You waved your hand dismissively. First, set the table. We can talk while we eat. Soon, the fragrant hot pot began to bubble. Just as the three of them sat down at the table, Luo Jin's phone suddenly rang. A guaranteed payment of 15,000 yuan was deposited. Her beautiful eyes instantly widened. She looked at you in shock. You shook your phone. Your tone brooked no argument. 3 months' salary, 9,000. The remaining 6,000 is your bonus. Luo Jin anxiously stood up. No! This is too much. She subconsciously pressed. Where did you get so much money? Only then did you calmly explain about the live stream. When Luo Jin heard that you earned nearly 80,000 yuan in a single day, she felt as if she had fallen into a cloud of mist. She was utterly stunned. You paid no attention to her shock. Instead, your expression became serious. Also, I have 2 serious matters to discuss with you. First, you two shouldn't live in that lounge. As soon as you finished speaking, Luo Jin's face instantly turned ashen white. She thought you were going to kick them out. But your next sentence surprised her even more. You pointed to the room diagonally opposite. Move upstairs to live. Just live in this room. Tao Tao is still growing. Eating and sleeping poorly in the lounge will affect her development. Luo Jin was completely frozen on the spot. You then directly settled the second matter. You should go learn accounting. You'll need it later. When the zoo expands, you'll be the chief steward. After saying this, you didn't give Luo Jin a chance to refuse. You immediately urged Tao Tao to start eating. Luo Jin's nose instantly stung. She was completely overwhelmed by your series of actions. She recalled that your parents had taken her in years ago. She thought there would never be anyone better than them. But once the old couple passed away, her world had already collapsed. The way she looked like a walking corpse when she first arrived had made her start considering her future long ago. Who would have thought that in just 2 days, she had been reborn? You continued your parents' kindness, even surpassing them. This feeling of being trusted and being valued made her feel at a loss. She watched her daughter eat, her mouth glistening with oil. She quietly wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes. After dinner, you helped Luo Jin and her daughter move. You were busy until past 9 p.m. You returned to your room and sat down cross-legged. Half a year's cultivation had significantly strengthened your perception of spiritual energy. You could even channel spiritual energy into your ears. Your hearing became exceptionally sharp. Immediately after, the soft whispering from the opposite room clearly reached you. Shoo, lower your voice. Don't wake Uncle Chow. Tao Tao quietly said, Mommy, Uncle Chow is better than Daddy. You mustn't compare that kind of person to Uncle Chow. The next second, Tao Tao's words made your heart tremble. Can Uncle Chow be my daddy? He definitely won't. Luo's answer. Jean was silent for a long time before sighing. Silly child. Mommy has been married before, and is older than Uncle Chow. They won't want their mommies. You raised an eyebrow at this. That might not be true. Children's words are the truth. You were about to continue eavesdropping, but then, a huge flapping sound came from outside the window. Only you, with your keen hearing, could detect this sound. Your jade beast sense told you a bird was injured. You immediately rushed downstairs. Sure enough, on the ground outside the window, a struggling black bird lay on the ground. It turned out to be a Muscovy duck. Its body was a fist larger than a cockatiel's, a Class 2 protected animal. A raptor among birds. So cool. So incredibly cool. The Muscovy duck was originally full of hostility, but it sensed the jade beast aura on your body and instantly calmed down. You squatted down and found that a part of its wing was shattered. Bubu also had a deep wound. Fresh blood, mixed with feathers, was still flowing out. It looked like it had collided with a drone. You smirked. If you had come 1 day earlier, I wouldn't have been able to save you. Consider yourself lucky, because just today, you had just acquired the profound spirit medical art, and could also contract a second spirit beast. So you directly took out a beast spirit pill and an awakening pill. The heavily injured Muscovy duck struggled excitedly, and swallowed the pills in one gulp. The next second, your palm covered its abdomen. The profound spirit medical art activated. The Muscovy duck's wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Its feathers also instantly regained their resilience. Immediately after, you activated the Saint Child's spirit contracting art, directly completing the contract. Thus, this Muscovy duck became your second contracted spirit beast. The moment the mental connection was established, a deep, mellow voice suddenly rang out in your mind. Master! Your heart trembled. What a penetrating voice. So you bestowed upon it the name H1. H1 thanked its master. You smiled and asked it about the pill's effects. H1's voice carried a hint of excitement. A complete transformation. The awakening pill made its intelligence soar, even far surpassing the cockatiel. So you directly gave it its first task. Go find your kin. As long as you can find 100 Muscovy ducks, I'll reward you with another beast spirit pill, and then I'll make you their king. You had just finished contracting the Muscovy duck when a bold idea about H1 popped into your head. After all, Muscovy ducks are Class 2 protected animals. Although you had the necessary permits, but with only one, you couldn't create any big spectacle. Letting it deliver packages with the cockatiel was a bit of a waste of its talent after all. You made up your mind. Since I'm going to earn money through live streaming, then I must make a big splash. H1 accepted the order. The next second, it instantly spread its wings, suddenly accelerated and vanished into the night. Stealth was its strongest talent. Its black feathers allowed its form, sound, and even its aura to be perfectly hidden in the darkness. It was the absolute king. You secretly nodded. If this were combined with offensive means, it would simply be a born assassin. Just then, in your divine consciousness, the cockatiel's voice suddenly rang out, H1! That's its name. You responded calmly, yes. Who knew the cockatiel instantly bristled. Me! You didn't give me a name. I am Master's first spirit beast. Master, why do you slight me so? This fellow actually started speaking in classical Chinese again. You immediately spoke seriously. Yes, you do. The literary world cannot lose you, just as the West cannot be without Jerusalem. The cockatiel instantly perked up. Then am I called Jerusalem? You paused, and solemnly announced, no. From now on, you'll be called Wensi. The cockatiel was full of question marks. What is Wensi? It doesn't sound very good. But you completely ignored it, turned around and went back to sleep. Wensi. The cockatiel instantly felt wronged. Master, I don't really like this name. You didn't look back. Got it, Wensi. Master, I'm serious. Oh. Meanwhile, in a large apartment in a high-end residential complex, a young man was sprawled on the sofa, mesmerized, scrolling through clips of your live stream. In the video, the cockatiel repeatedly delivered fire, and occasionally blurted out a couple of human words. The young man watched utterly amazed. He propped up his legs, exclaiming, Holy crap! This bird is way too smart. How did they train it? But just then, the doorbell suddenly rang. The young man's expression changed dramatically. He abruptly put his legs down, instantly startled. He sat up slightly. He saw a middle-aged man in a police uniform push the door open and enter. The young man immediately stood up, smiling. Dad, you're back. To his surprise, when the middle-aged man saw him, his brows furrowed instantly. You still know how to come home? Why aren't you messing around outside today? Run out of money. 3 questions in a row. The young man awkwardly scratched his neck. Immediately after, a beautiful middle-aged woman walked out of the kitchen. She glared at the man. Xianxia, he's not messing around all day. You come home and still have a long face. The middle-aged man snorted coldly. He walked straight to the dining room, and the woman quickly brought the dishes to the table. She pulled the young man to the dining table. There's a case recently, so I might not be back tomorrow or the day after. The middle-aged man looked exhausted. He picked up his chopsticks and started eating voraciously. The atmosphere at the dinner table instantly dropped to freezing point. The young man had no choice but to make small talk, trying to break the deadlock. He had no choice but to make small talk, picking up his chopsticks and asking, Dad, what kind of case is it? To his surprise, his dad didn't even look at him, coldly retorting, Mind your own business. He took a deep breath, suppressing his rising anger. He bit the bullet and spoke directly. I need some money. His dad snorted. He directly pulled out his wallet. took out 500 yuan, threw it on the table. Get lost. Don't be an eyesore here. This time, Xianxia was utterly fuming. Can you not be like this? I'm going to do something serious. Just consider it a loan. Give me 200,000 first. I'll definitely pay you back in a while. To his surprise, his dad scoffed. Serious business, Xianxia? It's not that I look down on you, but even if I let you use my name to do things, you wouldn't be able to achieve a damn thing. This sentence instantly stung Xianxia. He retorted with hatred on his face. Right, you're the director of the Enforcement Bureau. You're fair and incorruptible. I won't borrow your name, is that okay? I just want to make it on my own and prove myself. You never support me. What do you mean? Fine, you. The middle-aged man slammed his chopsticks on the table, his eyes wide with fury, his aura extremely intimidating. That's because I know you're utterly useless. You couldn't even get into the police academy, and all you do is mess around all day. I'm telling you, as long as you don't cause me trouble, I'll consider myself lucky. Xianxia also roared furiously. I'm useless? Isn't it because of you? You never gave me a single word of affirmation since I was little. Aren't you just afraid I'll cause you trouble, disgrace you, and make you lose your position? But Song Taizhan, you're my old man, and I'm your son. If I'm a complete failure, will that look good on your face? To his surprise, Song Taizhan almost roared. If you dare to go down the wrong path, I'll personally put a bullet in you. Shoot me? Shoot me now then. Xianxia retorted defiantly. Just then, his mother finally broke down, screaming, Stop arguing. She desperately pushed Xianxia out the door. Xianxia, eyes red, glared fiercely at Song Taizhan until he was pushed out the doorway. Only then did he fiercely wipe away a tear and stormed out. Getting into the car, Xianxia roared and slammed his fists on the steering wheel. As the son of the City Law Enforcement Bureau chief, everyone thought he was living a life of endless glory. But who knew his dad not only didn't help him, but restricted him at every turn, making every step difficult for him, and he accomplished nothing. In this circle, he had status but nothing else, yet couldn't earn a single penny. Of course, making money was secondary. What he truly wanted was actually a word of approval from his father, to prove that he wasn't, as his father said, a good-for-nothing waste. But now he was powerless to change the situation. This was precisely where his greatest pain lay. However, just as he was gradually calming down, a thought suddenly flashed. He suddenly remembered what his father had just said. He had a case, and wouldn't be home tomorrow or the day after. Thinking of this, Xianxia slammed the accelerator. He drove straight to the Law Enforcement Bureau. Relying on his identity as the bureau chief's son, he quickly got the information. It turned out to be the human trafficker den that had caused such a stir recently, located near Yunhai City. The higher-ups had issued a death order. His father would lead a team tomorrow and the day after to conduct a city-wide sweep. Xianxia sat in his car until midnight. Finally, he gritted his teeth fiercely. It was as if he had made some kind of decision. He floored the accelerator and headed straight for a certain spot in the city's suburbs. Early the next morning, cars began arriving outside Yurzu one after another. One by one, they all parked at the entrance. You watched all this through the surveillance cameras. Noticing these people were acting suspiciously, they all sat in their cars, observing each other. Soon you understood. Most of those who came were local minor internet celebrities. Dancers, store reviewers, pranksters, all sorts of strange characters were there. It seemed they were all hounds sniffing out future traffic. All because you revealed your address during a live broadcast. On your first day of broadcasting, your live stream room reached 30 to 40,000 people. How could they possibly let go of this lucrative opportunity? As long as they could piggyback on your popularity, they could get a share of the pie. After all, for them, latching onto hot topics was a mandatory course. As for saving face, can it buy a Cullinan? By 8 o'clock, more and more people arrived. Just then, a car entered, driving directly to the entrance of your zoo's ticket office. A young man with an arrogant look on his face stepped out of the car. You immediately recognized him. Wasn't this that somewhat famous fake-busting internet celebrity, Brother Duck? This guy's nickname was Duck, and he had over 1 million followers. He specialized in helping followers defend their rights. To put it bluntly, he accumulated wealth under the guise of rights protection. Once he targeted someone, he'd find trouble even if there was none. If something did happen, he'd use the pretense of law to intimidate them in various ways. Finally, he'd take things out of context, edit videos, and post them online. Yet, as long as he wore the mantle of fake busting, countless netizens would cheer him on. Sure enough, as soon as Duck extended his hand, his chubby assistant immediately handed him a selfie stick. At the same time, he also raised the selfie stick. The live broadcast had already begun. Immediately after, Duck, holding some documents, actually yelled loudly towards Yuzu, "Where are the people?" Instantly, other internet celebrities also got out of their cars one after another, raising their phones high and gathered around. They were preparing to force their way into Yuzu. Duck looked at this rabble with disdain, thinking that without him, this group of people would just be a bunch of cowards. Seeing that no one was coming out of Yuzu, the chubby man beside him vigorously began to kick your fence. Loud banging sounds came. Yet Duck, feigning concern, shouted into the camera, Hey, we're here to defend rights. Don't resort to violence. We only target fake products/practices. As soon as he said this, over 2,000 people in the live stream room instantly felt that he was completely in the right. Just then, your employee Luo Jing jogged out. Seeing this spectacle, he was instantly stunned. "You are." Duck proudly raised the documents in his hand. "Do you know me?" Officer Luo, however, shook Duck blankly. He scoffed on the spot. "Then today I'll make you get acquainted. Call out your family's traditional animal trainer, the one from yesterday's live stream." Luo Jing frowned. "Are you law enforcement? We're here to expose fakes." Duck suddenly let out a shout. He turned and roared into his camera, "Brothers! Today, Duck is here on behalf of a fan to defend their rights." This fan was in Yang'anzu's live stream room and spent 2,600 yuan. And what was the result? The streamer actually used a bird-shaped drone to impersonate a real bird. This already constitutes false advertising. Consumer fraud. After saying that, he suddenly turned to Luo Jing. "Do you understand? Quickly call the person out." It turns out they had already taken your live stream recording and thoroughly analyzed it. They had counted every single word. Your cockatiel actually spoke 218 different words in one live stream. They consulted experts. And even if this kind of bird learned its whole life, it would absolutely not be able to learn more than 100 words. Over 200 is simply a fantasy. So they concluded that you definitely used a drone. Officer Luo was furious on the spot after hearing this. He directly confronted Duck. "Excuse me, if you think it's fraud, you can call the police. But don't make a scene here." He certainly knows that bird. Although he didn't know why that silly bird suddenly became smart, it was definitely a living, breathing creature. "Stop talking nonsense. Just call the person out if you want to." Duck impatiently pointed at Luo Jing. Luo Jing also started to get a little impatient. Early this morning, a flock of crows came to the park. He saw Chaoyang taking the cockatiel to feed that flock of crows. He knew that the person they wanted to see would be out and would have already left. So he had to block these people and send them back. "We don't need to prove anything to you." But he hadn't finished speaking when Duck rudely interrupted him with a shout. "Shut up! Listen to me. You don't understand. Let me tell you, Civil Code Article 55, Consumer Fraud. My not calling the police is already the greatest leniency towards you. Call the person out and explain clearly. Do you understand? I hate you people who trick fans out of their money the most." The more Duck spoke, the more agitated he became. Spittle flew everywhere. No sooner had he finished speaking than the fat man kicked the fence hard again. The fence was instantly crooked from the kick. Luo Jing, startled, retreated repeatedly. All the influencers' cameras were now aimed at this scene. A conflict was about to erupt. However, just as the fat man raised his foot to kick again, his whole body suddenly froze, because in the sky above the park, in front of everyone, a rolling dark cloud actually rose, slowly pressing down towards them. When it got closer, everyone was stunned. That was no dark cloud at all, but countless, dense, hundreds of black crows. They blotted out the sky and covered the sun. Immediately below this black cloud of crows, you were slowly walking over. On your left shoulder perched a giant black duck, and on your right shoulder was the cockatiel. With every step you took, a palpable sense of oppression instantly enveloped the entire scene. Everyone found it difficult to breathe. This was not an illusion. It was a real physiological reaction. When you walked in front of the camera, the flock of ducks in the sky also stopped instantly. They circled and scattered, perching on the signs, fences, and rooftops. All the crows' gazes followed your line of sight, fixed intently on the fat man. The scene was both shocking and eerie. At this moment, the fat man only felt as if he was being watched by countless demons. Cold sweat instantly drenched his back. His legs began to buckle uncontrollably. You stared coldly at him and asked, "The fence you kicked?" The entire scene instantly became eerily silent. In broad daylight, yet it was like the depths of a cold night. A few seconds later, you spoke with a cold scoff. Your sharp-beaked crow companion let out a sound. A hoarse caw. The next second, the clamor of 100 ducks made people's scalps tingle. The fat man only felt a sudden warmth. A stream of yellow liquid seeped down the leg of his shorts, gushing out. He actually urinated in front of everyone's live broadcast cameras. This was, of course, the aura you intentionally emitted. You are at least a beast tamer now, fully exerting your intimidation. Intimidating a mortal is not a problem. Seeing that the fat man was completely dumbfounded, you slowly turned to the equally terrified duck, whose body was shaking like a sieve. "What are you here for?" After all, Duck was a million-follower blogger, a bit stronger than the fat man. That bit of vanity supported him, preventing him from urinating on the spot. He swallowed his saliva. He loudly questioned, "You, who came to expose fraud, are that streamer?" You nodded calmly. "That's right. It's me." Duck instantly got excited. Pointing at you, he shouted, "We're here to help our fans protect their rights. Your live stream used false advertising. My fans tipped you 2,600 yuan. That was based on you using real birds. But you clearly used drones. This is already against the rules, you know?" Duck spoke more and more smoothly, feeling like the rhythm was back in his hands. "However," you scoffed, "exposing fraud, are we? Fine, I welcome it." After speaking, you raised your chin. The cockatiel on your shoulder instantly flew out, landing steadily on the railing in front of Duck. It spread its wings and preened its feathers, tilting its head nimbly to look at Duck. Other influencers instantly swarmed forward. Countless cameras furiously pointed forward. Just then, that cockatiel actually opened its mouth to remind everyone to remember to turn on beauty filters. As soon as these words came out, the entire audience first burst into laughter, followed by extreme shock. This bird not only knows new words, but can also use them precisely in specific situations. This definitely has logical thought. How is this a drone? This is clearly a divine bird. Not to mention the flock circling all over the sky behind you, a flock that followed commands and prohibitions perfectly. A person who can train crows into an army. Would they need to use fake birds for a live stream? Now, Duck and his buddies were completely dumbfounded. The evidence was undeniable. Just as he stood there in a daze, you spoke calmly. "Have you seen clearly?" Duck subconsciously glanced. The number of viewers in the live stream had soared to over 30,000. He didn't expect the peak of his popularity would actually be a massive fail incident. Immediately, his face flushed red with anger, absolutely unwilling to give up. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. Pointing at you, he shouted, "I've seen clearly, but don't avoid the important and dwell on the trivial. How do you prove that this bird is the same one from yesterday's live stream? You could totally have used a drone yesterday and used a real bird today to fool me, right? You can't prove that, can you?" Duck spread his hands. A cold sneer reappeared on his face. He began to be unreasonable and make trouble. He was certain that there was no evidence to contradict what you did yesterday. "You want to prove it in a live stream right now? I won't give you the chance for a single-shot take." You, however, scoffed. "Can anyone be an anti-fraud streamer now? He who asserts must prove. Understand? Now it's you who's exposing fraud. It's you who needs to prove my bird is fake." Not me proving anything to you. As soon as your words fell, the influencers behind you finally couldn't stand it anymore. Get lost quickly. Duck. Stop making a fool of yourself here. The reputation of influencers is ruined by trash like you. With his fail now public for a moment, everyone rushed to kick him when he was down. Duck and his buddies' faces fell. They immediately prepared to sneak away in disgrace. But you shouted coldly, "Stop! Apologize!" Duck still stiffened his neck and stubbornly argued, "We're exposing fraud for our fans. Even if Chuzhong was mistaken, it's still fine. Why should I apologize?" With over 40,000 people watching him in his live stream, he absolutely couldn't back down. However, your tone instantly turned chilling. "Are you guys very tough? Kicking the fence to scare my employees. A wimp who peed his pants just from a glare. Yet in front of a woman you act tough." You suddenly began apologizing to him. Your last words were like cold ice falling to the ground. The next second, the flock of ducks simultaneously let out strange cries and flew up with a roar. Crows filled the sky, like a dark cloud covering the ground, bearing down on everyone. Everyone was so scared they squatted on the ground. Immediately after that flock of crows, surprisingly, they all landed on the Duck Brothers' car. The meaning was clear: no apology, no leaving. Now the entire place was completely stunned again. All cameras were aimed at this flock of unique crows. All influencers realized that once this footage was posted online, it would absolutely spread virally. And Duck's fat companion completely broke down mentally. He peed himself again right on the spot. Duck himself was even more deathly pale. He couldn't have dreamed of this scene. Being stared at fixedly by over 100 ominous crows. Who could possibly endure this? Meanwhile, the public opinion in Duck's live stream room also completely changed. The boss is the real man. Fair is fair. You failed to debunk, then just turned and left? Where's your dignity? You immediately started labeling people. The boss suffered such a great injustice, yet still cooperated with you. You must apologize. Duck was so angry his lungs were about to burst. He knew he had completely become your stepping stone. This move of yours simply pushed him to a dead end. Today, whether he apologizes or not, you've already won big time. No apology, his persona collapses. Apologize, admit he's an idiot. Ultimately, Duck still chose to temporarily compromise. Gritting his teeth, he squeezed out 3 words to Luo Jing. "I'm sorry." He had a good plan. As long as he adamantly claimed Chuzhong was a fan, someone would always buy it. As for today's score, he'd remember it. And Luo Jing had never in a million years expected that you would actually, for a small matter, so forcefully stand up for him. After the apology, the flock of ducks flew up with a roar. The Duck brothers dejectedly got into their car and disappeared in a flash. Only a group of influencers holding up their phones remained at the scene, looking at each other in bewilderment. The atmosphere became heavy for a time. Some even looked at the crows in the sky, ready to slip away. But you instantly changed your expression. The previous icy coldness was utterly gone. Smiling, you cupped your hands to everyone. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chao Yang. I'm the new owner of this zoo. As everyone saw, business isn't good. I do live streaming just to make a living." You suddenly changed your tone, declaring with a resounding voice, "We've cooperated with unreasonable debunking, but we welcome goodwill exchanges even more. Today, please blur my face, but please aim your cameras at my parrots. Let's do this in one continuous shot, to prove our integrity." After speaking, you directly opened the zoo's turnstiles and made a welcoming gesture. "Next, please everyone, proceed to visit inside the zoo." Now all the influencers were stunned. No one expected you to be so fair and impartial. Boss Chow is magnanimous. With such animal training skills, this feat will definitely become popular sooner or later. That's right, ordinary people really can't pull this off. Everyone instantly understood. The atmosphere immediately warmed up. You were building relationships with them, allowing them to piggyback on your traffic. In these times, sharing traffic is sharing money. How could they not go in? What's more, you even actively requested to have your face blurred. This was completely top tier. Who wouldn't want this incredible fortune? Just at this moment, The last man in the crowd was staring intently at him. He wasn't holding a phone, but his gaze was like an eagle's, locked onto your crows and cockatiels. His heart was already stirring with tumultuous waves. They were glad they came today, but upon entering the park, everyone was stunned. There was really nothing to photograph in this place. So, all cameras uniformly aimed at your livestream. Under the recording of countless cameras, you put equipment on the cockatiel and started live streaming. The content was still local flash delivery. The entire process was witnessed by the entire network. But your live stream had only been on for an hour, and countless clip videos online had already gone viral. From the duck's arrogant debunking to your entrance surrounded by ducks, then to forcing him to bow his head and apologize, and waiting for the influencer to enter the park and spin around. For a time, the authenticity of the cockatiel was no longer of concern to anyone, because your ducks surrounding you, the scene that defied all norms was more shocking than any special effect. Immediately after, immense traffic directly flooded into your livestream room. By noon, the number of people in the livestream room exceeded 50,000 for the first time. In the bullet comments, skeptical voices grew fewer and fewer. As long as someone dared to say it was a drone, they were immediately blasted by countless informed people. One doubt was met with over a dozen insults. By the afternoon, as soon as you started live streaming, your viewership directly surged to 100,000. Coupled with the morning's videos having completely gone viral. Just at this moment, the system notification sound suddenly boomed in your mind. Central Gate reputation reached 30 points. You received the reward skill, Mustard Pass, and 2 Beast Spirit Pills. Mustard Pass can disregard distance, temporarily borrowing the eyes and ears of a contracted spirit beast. You instantly widened your eyes. Isn't this just VR? First-person perspective flight, although its use is limited for now, but this is your first skill. You instantly understood. So, the Saint Sun's desire receptacle was merely the internal cultivation method of immortal cultivation. It was essentially the foundation, and mental cultivation techniques were for cultivating spiritual power, for resisting inner demons, and spells were the true means of combat. As for cultivation arts, they were even more varied. A unique encounter, accelerating cultivation all relied on them. Your understanding of this world was once again overturned. However, on the path of immortal cultivation, you simply had no choice. Whatever the system rewarded, you could only cultivate that. You live-streamed until past 5 p.m. The influencers and onlookers had long since cleared out. Yet, there was still one person left, who had been there from morning till evening, constantly wandering around the park. The moment you went offline, this young man immediately rushed up to you. You instantly got goosebumps all over your body. The way this guy looked at you, surprisingly had a hint of excitement. You frowned. Brother, is something wrong? But to your surprise, he immediately performed a fist and palm salute. I am Xianxia, he said, and I wish to collaborate with Brother Chow on a major matter. You instantly realized. Another one who wants to get something for nothing. A major matter? Isn't it just about making money? So, without even thinking, you directly refused. Sorry, I'm not interested. But he was unhurried, suddenly pulling an ID from his pocket. Boss Chow, don't be so quick to refuse. The next second, he flashed his ID, Yunhai City Law Enforcement Bureau. He was actually a law enforcement officer. I want you to assist in investigating a major case. Your attitude instantly did a 180-degree turn. But if you elaborate a bit, I can still be easily persuaded. Assisting in investigations is every citizen's duty. Come, officer, please have a seat. And at this very moment, Director Song Taizhan of the Yunhai Law Enforcement Bureau Command Center was about to walk into the command room, but just then, his phone suddenly vibrated. His eyebrow twitched. It was actually his son, Xianxia, calling. The moment the call was answered, his son's voice eagerly came through. Dad, I have an extraordinary person here. We can definitely help. Song Tieshan's eyes widened. He growled angrily in a low voice. Shut up. Who told you there's an operation tonight? Song Xingjie immediately stammered. Song Taizhan instantly exploded in anger. I'm telling you, Song Xingjie. Today belongs to the audience. In the command room are sitting an expert team from the province. You absolutely must not cause me trouble. But Song Xingjie got anxious. Dad, trust me this once. I know your difficulties. I swear we'll only help. However, Song Taizhan couldn't be bothered to listen anymore. Stop talking. I have a meeting. He hung up the phone directly. He quickly walked into the command room. Inside, over a dozen people sat in stunned silence. The atmosphere was incredibly tense. The atmosphere in the command room was so oppressive it was at freezing point. Over a dozen leaders sat in a circle. The expert team from the province was prominently present. Lu Haiming, the leader of the expert team, spoke first. He spoke first. The Red 1 case is a major case highly scrutinized by the province. His tone was grave. His eyes were sharp. This is the most dangerous in nearly 20 years, and most cunning criminal gang. According to our expert team's analysis, their base of operations is in Yunhai City. As soon as these words were spoken, Song Taizhan and other Yunhai City leaders felt very uncomfortable. Clearly, the credit for catching the people was entirely taken by the expert team. However, Lu Haiming continued. The red-clad gang is hidden in the mountains to the north, and they possess dangerous weapons. They are planning a major case in the past 2 days. This is a good opportunity to catch them all in one swoop. At this point, he looked at Song Taizhan. Director Song, he said, please tell us the specific situation. Song Taizhan took a deep breath and began to report. We have identified 3 suspects. Every 2 days, they all check out of their rooms and go into the mountains for 1 to 2 days. This pattern confirms that they are planning a major case. Just this evening at 7 p.m., they once again uniformly checked out. This is our chance to track them and find their hideout. We have already invited armed law enforcement to join forces to launch an operation tonight. We aim to completely wipe out the red-clad gang in one fell swoop. However, a fatal problem lay before them. Song Tieshan's tone shifted. These 3 suspects are extremely vigilant. To track them in the mountains at night, without being noticed, is extremely difficult. This is our biggest obstacle today. As soon as Song Taizhan finished speaking, the entire room fell into a deathly silence. Just then, someone couldn't help but ask, Director Song, since the suspects have all been to the hideout, why not just arrest them directly? Song Taizhan, however, shook his head. It turns out the red-clad gang is extremely cunning, and they have more than one hideout. Not only that, the location of their gatherings is different every time. The exact location will be sent on the day itself, using text messages, and sent in segments to members' phones. The most crucial thing is that, after they enter the mountains, they have to turn at 4 to 5 nodes. If they lose track of even one, all previous efforts will be in vain. Now everyone fell into despair. Even the location of the hideout might be temporarily changed midway. Once we alert them, all efforts will be wasted. Just as everyone was at their wits' end, the newly transferred intern Guan Shihue suddenly spoke up. Can't we use drones? As soon as these words came out, Captain Luo Hu, who was next to Song Taizhan, twitched an eyelid. He was afraid the old leader would erupt, so he stepped forward first. Luo Hu cleared his throat and directly interrupted his fantasy. Drones were the first option we ruled out. His tone was firm and decisive. The noise of drones in the mountains at night is like a torch. If it flies close, it will be discovered. If it flies far, it can't keep up at all. Most importantly, the purpose of tracking is too obvious. As long as it's discovered, the mission will be declared a complete failure. With just a few words, Guan Shihue was rendered speechless. The expert team leader Lu Haiming's face instantly fell. After all, this was his person. He quickly cleared his throat, trying to regain the initiative. Today's operation will be led by me. I hope Director Song and everyone will cooperate actively. He lightly tapped the table, wanting to boost morale. However, the atmosphere was still so awkward it could freeze solid. Just at this moment, the meeting room door was violently flung open. A nervous-looking liaison officer burst in. 3 red stone targets are out. You, relying on live stream presales, saw your fanbase explode by 100,000 in a single day, just as you were preparing to go live again. To boost your sect's reputation, You were sought out by the scion of an official from the Market Value Law Bureau, inviting you to take part in an operation concerning human trafficking organizations, a hunt. Meanwhile, on the other side, everyone in the command center grew tense. Song Taizhan abruptly stood up and ordered, "Everyone, move quickly. The operation has started." The tension in the command hall immediately reached its peak. On a large screen, the footage kept switching. One display showed the Skynet system, the other showed Ding Xiao's livestream. All eyes were locked onto the three targets. In the images, the three middle-aged men appeared unremarkable, indistinguishable from ordinary passers-by, very relaxed. But the next moment, they then successively boarded three different taxis. Under the Skynet system, the three cars' destinations were surprisingly consistent, straight to the north of the city. Just as Song Taizhan was about to step forward to give orders, he suddenly remembered the expert team beside him. He immediately looked at team leader Lu Haiming. "It's time for action." But Lu Haiming shot him a cold, disdainful look, full of disdain. Then, he unhurriedly walked to the command console, pressed the communicator. "Operation Victor. All units, attention. This is Lu Haiming. Squads 1, 2, and 3. Immediately head to the northern city mountains to cast a net." This was their most cumbersome method, but time was pressing. To set up a large-scale ambush on the mountain beforehand, to form a surveillance line by risking lives. As a large number of personnel rushed ahead of the suspects into North Mountain, they disguised themselves as migrant workers, jumping from their vehicles along the way, quickly fading into the darkness. But just then, the three taxis they were tracking suddenly made a U-turn in the north of the city, heading straight for East Mountain. "It's a diversion." Everyone in the command center was instantly enraged. Lu Haiming's expression darkened. He immediately ordered, 5th and 6th squads, redirect to East Mountain, act immediately. They were forced to. Their last resort was to directly apprehend the suspects and launch a frontal assault, but that was the absolute last resort. The gang was extremely vicious. Being caught meant the death penalty for them. They would certainly fight to the death. If this tactic failed, it would be a complete loss. As expected, after passing the East Third Ring Road, the three men immediately got out of their vehicles. Then, at the factory entrance, they switched to electric bikes. The command center staff were constantly tracking their movements. They were about to enter a complete blind spot for Skynet surveillance. Further ahead lay small paths and mountain villages completely devoid of surveillance. "All units, attention. The targets have entered the mountains." The next moment, the suspects on the big screen vanished instantly. In their place were blurry images sent back by the field agents. It was pitch black. Nothing was visible. Just as everyone was holding their breath, suddenly the first suspect was spotted, then the second, the third. The human cordon ambush succeeded. A wave of suppressed cheers instantly erupted in the command hall. This most cumbersome method had actually worked. Immense hope was rekindled. At Lu Haiming's command, squads 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 withdraw. Begin to encircle East Mountain. All field agents once again moved with intense urgency. Over an hour later, the time was 11:50 p.m. The three suspects simultaneously entered a village. And this village surprisingly had surveillance. Everyone instantly became alert. Some even felt excited. Could the hideout be right here? Lu Haiming immediately ordered all units to arm and stand by, ready for a raid at any moment. As the three suspects were about to, the car stopped at a farmhouse. Everyone thought this was the place. Who would have thought these three people, after getting out of the car, actually walked straight out? They followed the small path and went directly up the mountain. What was even more alarming, they split up and moved in three different directions. Lu Haiming's expression instantly changed drastically. The liaison officers nearby were all stunned. What's going on? Have we been exposed? Lu Haiming frowned in silence. He had already lost his composure. But Song Taizhan and Luo who exchanged a glance. He knew they weren't exposed, but rather that this group of people was too cunning, too cautious. Once they went over the mountain, they would completely lose sight of them. Sure enough, Lu Haiming sent people to try and track them, but they had already lost all trace. Time seemed to stand still. The entire command center was eerily quiet. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Lu Haiming. They saw his face turn ashen, but he pretended to be calm. He suddenly turned to Song Taizhan. Director Song, I have an important call from the provincial level. I'll go take it. I'll leave this here to you. Before he finished speaking, he actually strode out quickly. Passing the buck. He actually passed the buck right there. The people from Yunhai City Bureau were instantly filled with surging anger. Luo, who even clenched his fists so hard they crackled. When it's time to take credit, you're quick to jump in. But the moment something goes wrong, you run. Everyone looked at Song Taizhan. They saw his face was calm and steady. He walked to the command console. I am Song Taizhan. All personnel, cease tracking them. We cannot let our brothers make unnecessary sacrifices. He had long been prepared to take the blame for this today. Luo, who was immediately furious. Isn't this playing right into Lu Haiming's hands? But Song Taizhan merely raised a hand, his face full of despondency. A higher rank crushes those below. A deep sense of powerlessness enveloped the entire hall. Just when everyone thought the operation had completely failed, Luo, whose phone suddenly vibrated. He picked it up and looked. His eyes instantly widened. He suddenly turned to Song Taizhan. Lowering his voice, Director Song. It's Xianxia. Song Tieshan's brows instantly furrowed. What time is it now? This good-for-nothing son is still messing around. He spoke coldly. What's wrong with him? Luo, whose voice was trembling. Xianxia says he's caught up with the suspects. Song Taizhan was completely stunned by this sentence. He said he caught up with what? Luo, who lowered his voice, and replied word for word. The suspects. He's asking us for a channel. Says he can provide footage. Song Taizhan suddenly recovered from his shock. Without the slightest hesitation, give it to him. Luo, who quickly sent the encrypted channel. The next second, the encrypted channel received several requests to broadcast surveillance footage. After approving them, the footage instantly appeared on the big screen. It was a high-altitude perspective. The camera seemed to be perched on a branch. Although not very clear, the distance was extremely close. The suspects below could be seen clearly. Just then, the suspect in the footage stood up and quickly ran off. And that footage immediately followed. It even flew alongside the suspect, brazenly following them, and let out a strange bird call. Immediately after, 2 more screens popped up. They were actually 2 other suspects' low-altitude tracking perspectives. Boom! The atmosphere in the entire command center instantly exploded. Everyone excitedly clenched their fists. Even Song Taizhan was deeply shaken. How is this possible? The suspects didn't notice, but how was such a close distance achieved? Let alone a drone. Even if there was no sound, looking up you'd see a large black object. What exactly is being used to track them? Listening to this call and the flapping wings noise, it seemed like a crow. A crow! Everyone instantly erupted. This is simply incredible. But no matter how much they questioned, the scene before their eyes was ironclad proof. This was a bird's-eye view. What excited them even more was this. If it really was crows tracking them, then it would be absolutely impossible for the suspects to suspect they were being followed. This was simply a born scout. For a moment, everyone's gaze, consciously or unconsciously, turned to Song Taizhan. No one knew when he had deployed such a unit, especially Lu Haiming's several confidants. Their expressions kept changing. They cursed silently, thinking Song Taizhan was truly an old fox. He actually still had a trick up his sleeve. Wasn't this clearly setting up their team leader? However, the most shocked person at this moment was precisely Song Taizhan himself. Because just before the meeting started, his good-for-nothing son had called, saying he could help. At the time, he didn't believe it at all. But now, his good-for-nothing son had become the only viable option. Song Taizhan suppressed his excitement and shock, and spoke to Luo Hu, telling the operatives to absolutely pay attention to safety. Luo Hu nodded heavily, and immediately sent a message to Song Xianxia via his phone. Time passed by minute. On the screen, the 3 suspects were still continuously traversing mountains and ridges. Following that, the 3 would sometimes take mountain paths, and sometimes walk through villages. They crisscrossed back and forth for a full hour. Finally, they met at the edge of a mountain village. Immediately after, they walked together towards an abandoned farm. It was pitch black outside, without the slightest bit of light. But just as they approached the main gate, the door actually opened from the inside. Inside, it was brightly lit. The command center instantly buzzed with excitement. However, just at this moment, Lu Haiming, who had gone to answer the phone, actually strode back in. He jovially asked Song Taizhan, "Director Song, how are things going?" The people from Yunhai City Bureau felt like stabbing him through the heart. How could this old dog be so shameless? He ran away when things looked bad, and now he's back to claim credit. Song Taizhan secretly clenched his fists. He could only suppress his anger. "The situation has improved," he said. "We've already locked down the target syndicate. I've ordered all personnel to surround the mountain village." Lu Haiming's eyes lit up. "Excellent," he exclaimed. He then walked to the command console and silently took control of the command once again. Song Taizhan was just about to tell his son to stop the operation. After all, finding the hideout was already a huge achievement. But before he could speak, the three crows actually hid again. One kept watch from high in the sky. Two landed on the roof. They used their beaks to slowly pull back the black cloth covering the doors and windows, then used their bodies to block the gaps to prevent light from leaking out. Subsequently, a low-light surveillance device was aimed directly inside the factory building. Two screens simultaneously displayed the scene inside the factory. Inside, it was brightly lit. Many people were eating and drinking. The wanted criminal, Hong Yi, was prominently among them. What was even more astonishing was this. On a nearby platform, dozens of firearms were neatly arranged. Over 30 firearms in total, including rifles and handguns. This was practically an open book test. Lu Haiming was immediately overjoyed. He directly ordered, "Operation Capture the Leader. All personnel listen up. All personnel, accelerate the raid." Song Tieshan's face suddenly fell. This Lu Haiming was too greedy for credit and reckless. He quickly reminded team leader Lu, "A syndicate this cautious might have hidden dangers. We should first conduct a reconnaissance before formulating a raid plan." Song Taizhan was extremely anxious, because he knew that if the arrest operation had any slip-up, the Hongyi syndicate would instantly scatter. Once they were allowed to scatter with weapons, all the villagers would become hostages. But these words sounded incredibly harsh to the expert team. Lu Haiming was even more displeased on the spot. "Who are you to tell me how to do my job? How dare you question my command?" The connected person next to him spoke up in an ambiguous tone. "Director Song, surely you understand the principle of speed is paramount, don't you? This isn't caution, it's indecisiveness." But before he could finish speaking, an operator suddenly shouted, "The situation is bad." That cry about a hidden sentry instantly made everyone's heart leap into their throats. Sure enough, on the screen, on the roof of a small house 300 meters from the factory, a person abruptly stood up. He pulled out his phone and was actually preparing to make a call. No good. Song Taizhan and the others were instantly alarmed. This is definitely Hongyi's hidden sentry. Guan Shihui's face immediately turned crimson. The slap in the face came too quickly. Lu Haiming was even more aghast. He repeatedly urged, "Quick, quick, quick, act. A little faster." But everyone's heart sank to the bottom. As long as the other party got the call through, everything would be too late. However, at this very moment, the crow carrying the monitoring device suddenly swooped down at extreme speed. With a bang, the hidden sentry's phone was directly knocked away. The hidden sentry ignored the sharp pain in his wrist and actually jumped directly from the 3-meter-high roof. After landing, he sprinted towards the factory, shouting, "Cops!" But before his voice faded, from the nearby bushes, a black figure suddenly darted out. A stick swung fiercely towards his face. The hidden sentry's body and shouts abruptly stopped. He fell straight to the ground, completely silent. "It's Xianxia," Luo Hu exclaimed excitedly, looking at the screen. That's right. The person holding the stick was indeed his son, Song Xianxia. Song Taizhan never expected his son to be so close. The next second, he pushed aside Lu Hai, who was blocking his way, grabbed the microphone, and said in a calm, powerful voice, "This is Song Taizhan. Everyone listen up. The hidden sentry has been dealt with. There are our people at the 7 o'clock position from the factory. Be careful to identify them. The 11 o'clock position behind the main gate is a vital point. Focus on controlling the red-clad individuals, try to keep them alive. At this moment, inside the factory, festivities were still in full swing, and under Song Tieshan's clear command, 70 to 80 elite team members had already, with firm steps, silently approached the outside of the factory. A murderous aura instantly filled the air. The next second, the action team directly reached the factory gate. The people inside had just noticed something was wrong on the surveillance, but it was already too late. A huge hole was blasted open in the gate. Immediately after, 3 flashbangs whistled in. After the bang 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 explosions, armed personnel broke through the door. The people in the factory were instantly dazed and disoriented by the shock. A desperado tried to reach for a gun, but was immediately shot dead on the spot. Immediately after, the team members rushed into the factory, smashing everyone with their rifle butts. The scene was filled with cries of pain and fear. Handcuffs weren't enough, so zip ties were used directly. Everyone was tied up like pigs. Just then, a report came in, reporting to headquarters. The red-clad gang is fully under control. The command center instantly erupted in thunderous cheers. Song Taizhan let out a long breath. Well done. However, at this very moment, a young voice came through the channel. Reporting, sir. Special Operations Personnel, codename Jiebao. Reporting for duty. It's Song Xianxia. Song Tieshan's heart suddenly swelled. Jiebao, that was his son's pet name. The next second, Song Taizhan instantly understood. A wave of pride surged in his heart. This kid is too smart. He called himself Special Operations Personnel, which meant, in front of everyone, he was openly creating a cover for himself. This way, the expert group would no longer be able to find any fault. Song Taizhan took a deep breath and calmly responded into the microphone. Jiebao, well done. Luo Hu and the other old subordinates all showed knowing smiles. This kid has both courage and strategy. The credit for this battle undoubtedly belongs to him. Soon, after Song Taizhan had completed the post-operation handling, it was already 3 a.m. In the director's office, Song Xianxia was swaggering, sitting grandly in his dad's chair, drinking coffee. Seeing Song Taizhan enter, he sprang to his feet, spilling his coffee. But this time, Song Taizhan didn't scold him. Luo Hu even gave him a thumbs up. Good job, kid. You really made us proud. But Song Taizhan glared at him. This was his only son. If anything had gone wrong today, the consequences would have been unimaginable. He still felt a chill of fear thinking about it. Thinking of this, Song Taizhan immediately asked the crucial question. Where are those crows? Song Xianxia pointed north. They flew back to the zoo. Then he lowered his voice, incredibly excited. Dad, I found an extraordinary person. His name is Chao Yang. He's the owner of Yang'an Zoo. This guy is incredible. He can train animals. Those cheating crows today, they're all his birds. Song Xianxia's eyes sparkled as he spoke. However, Song Taizhan suddenly raised a hand to interrupt. Wait! He stared intently at his son, his voice trembling. Are you saying this Chao Yang never even came out? Song Xianxia nodded vigorously. That's right. As soon as he finished speaking, Song Taizhan and Luo Hu instantly exchanged bewildered glances, a huge wave rising in their hearts. To control birds for perfect reconnaissance, use their bodies to block light sources during a live broadcast, and even precisely attack and knock down a phone in the dark. This was no longer just amazing, it was utterly astonishing. Yet now Song Xianxia was saying, this extraordinary person hadn't even left his house, but had remotely controlled the crows from dozens of miles away to accomplish everything. This was simply preposterous. Seeing that he had thoroughly scared everyone, Song Xianxia quickly added, the crows have small wireless devices on them. He commands them through language. But this explanation was useless. To remotely command such incredible operations with language. That's even more insane, isn't it? Luo Hu suddenly realized. Does this person not want to cause trouble? Everyone instantly understood. Exactly. The other party were desperate criminals. If they had accomplices outside, the retaliation would be unimaginable. Just then, Song Taizhan looked at Luo Hu and spoke meaningfully. When you encounter a master, how can you be arrogant and lose them? Shouldn't we pay a visit, Luo Hu? The few of them instantly understood. Such an extraordinary person was definitely a super trump card. They must be protected. Indeed, we should visit. Song Taizhan immediately made a decision. I can't get away these 2 days. Tomorrow you take me. Ask him if he's willing to accept a public commendation. If not, there's also a large bonus. As soon as he heard bonus, Song Xingjia's eyes lit up instantly. Pointing to himself, what about me? Song Tieshan's usual sternness melted for a rare moment, and he chuckled. Look at you, all antsy like a monkey. You'll get your share. He subconsciously wanted to scold him. Good for nothing. But the words reached his lips, and he suddenly swallowed them back. His son was proving that he wasn't a useless child. At this moment, Song Taizhan felt that his catchphrase. It was time for it to disappear. Thank you, sir. Song Xingjie casually saluted. Immediately afterward, the cleanup operation began overnight. All suspects were interrogated through the night, with huge gains. Song Taizhan used only one trick. There's only one immunity slot. The first to confess gets it. This made the desperate criminals frantically turn on each other. Over a dozen hideouts and dozens of accomplices were all revealed. It wasn't until dawn was approaching that everything settled. At 6:30 a.m., Song Taizhan, dressed in his uniform, was preparing to go to the provincial department to report on his work. But just as he was about to leave, Lu Haiming of the expert group stepped in front of him. Song Ju, where are you rushing off to? Lu Haiming's face was wreathed in smiles as he enthusiastically patted Song Tieshan's shoulder. But Song Taizhan merely uttered, concisely, and to the point, 2 words. The data. Who knew Lu Haiming would stop him? Oh, Song Ju, you're the big hero today. Leave minor things like the data to me. Just stay at the bureau and enjoy the spotlight. But he wasn't being kind at all. He had to stop Song Taizhan, because the footage from the command center was full of evidence of his buck passing and major blunders. If his superiors saw it, his position as head of the expert group would be completely over. So he had to steal the credit and cut the video. However, Song Taizhan didn't even bother to glance at him. He spoke coldly. No need. All records have already been submitted. Lu Haiming was stunned instantly. Submitted? To whom? Song Taizhan simply uttered 3 words. Director Lu. After speaking, he put on his hat and left directly. Lu Haiming felt as if struck by lightning, his pupils constricting sharply. Director Lu was the sworn enemy of his backer. Now, not even the King of Heaven could save him. His eyes were bloodshot, and he opened his mouth wanting to curse, but found that Song Taizhan had long since vanished. 7 a.m. The aroma of food woke you up. Although you had stayed up half the night, cultivation kept you full of energy, so you didn't feel sleepy at all. You got up and went to the central hall, where you saw Tao Tao sitting by the table. Seeing you come out, she immediately smiled sweetly. Good morning, Uncle Chow. Good morning, Tao Tao, you replied with a smile. Immediately after, Luo Jing came out of the kitchen carrying soy milk. You're awake. I fried some steamed bun slices and made soy milk. Just make do with this. You couldn't help but laugh and cry. You even stir-fried 2 dishes this early in the morning? And you call this making do? But just as Luo Jing smiled faintly and turned to go into the kitchen for tableware, she keenly noticed. Your gaze was fixed on her. Luo Jing's cheeks instantly flushed. Meanwhile, you ate your meal while looking at her with a puzzled expression. Because after cultivating, you were extremely sensitive to auras. You noticed that when Luo Jing sat down, her aura was somewhat chaotic and rapid. You became even more puzzled, so you stared intently at her. The next second, you directly reached out your hand. Give me your hand. Luo Jing was startled and subconsciously looked at you nervously. You had no choice but to pretend to take her pulse, explaining, let me check your pulse. Although Luo Jing was puzzled, she still extended her delicate hand. You gently placed your fingers on it. A moment later, you immediately asked, does your back hurt? Luo Jing's eyes widened instantly, And she nodded heavily. You didn't even lift your eyelids. And continued to press. Especially your lower back, is it sore and swollen? And sometimes your tailbone also has sharp pains. Luo Jing was even more shocked. Yes. Do you know traditional Chinese medicine? Only then did you nod, withdrawing your hand. It's a postpartum illness. Treat it quickly. If you don't, your waist will be completely ruined. And even standing up will become a problem. Luo Jing quickly asked, You know what's going on? I've tried to treat it before, but I could never cure it. She shook her head bitterly. This ailment was a lingering problem from childbirth. She had no money to find good doctors, and both Chinese and Western medicine had been ineffective. And you, someone she barely had any interaction with, could diagnose it all correctly just by feeling her pulse. This was definitely not ordinary medical skill. You, however, feigned surprise and said, Can't be cured? No way. This ailment isn't difficult to treat at all. You knew in your heart that her lumbar meridians were severely damaged. Western medicine didn't even know what meridians were, so naturally they couldn't do anything. And good traditional Chinese doctors in this era couldn't be found without money. Luo Jing immediately said, Really? I've taken both Chinese and Western medicine. I've also put on a bunch of plasters. None of it worked, yet you just chuckled. Why take medicine? A few massage sessions will fix it. If you trust me, I'll personally help you stop it tonight. Luo Jing was instantly overjoyed. Really? Of course I trust you. Tao Tao, who was beside them, clapped her hands happily. Uncle Chow, please help Mommy quickly. Mommy has been uncomfortable for a very, very long time. You smiled in response. But just then, a cockatiel suddenly landed on the window and shrieked. Guests! Guests! You told Luo Jing and her daughter to eat first, and went to the entrance of the zoo yourself. Outside the gate stood Xianxia, and an unfamiliar middle-aged man. You smiled, opened the turnstile for him and said, Morning, Officer Song. Who knew, as soon as these words were out, Xianxia's eye twitched uncontrollably. The fact that he had impersonated an enforcement officer. He hadn't told the person next to him at all. Sure enough, the middle-aged man behind him, Luo Hu, instinctively froze. Officer Song? You were also taken aback by this reaction. Just as the atmosphere became awkward, Xianxia quickly took the initiative to speak to you. Ah, that. Chao Xiu. Yesterday's matter was very successful. We helped the city crack a major case. However, I must admit a mistake to you. He awkwardly rubbed his hands. I'm actually not an enforcement officer. I lied to you yesterday. You were instantly dumbfounded. If he hadn't revealed his identity yesterday, you would have kicked him out long ago. But this guy used both soft and hard tactics, tearfully telling the story of human traffickers, and even conned you out of a dinner worth over 90 yuan. You were about to open your mouth to scold him. You motherf! Who knew? Xianxia suddenly raised his hand and covered your mouth. Brother Chow, hold your curses. Although I lied to you, but it's true. This is the Yunhai City Enforcement Bureau. Captain of the 1st Brigade. Uncle Luo Hu. He's my dad's capable right-hand man. You paused. Your dad's capable right-hand man? Is your dad Mo Yen? You glared at Xianxia, annoyed. Your dad is. Xianxia then quietly leaned close to your ear and whispered, Yunhai City's Director of Enforcement Bureau. You instantly snorted, speechless. Can you just finish what you're saying in one go next time? Damn it. You're making my attitude fluctuate. Like some kind of snob. You bowed and said, Young master, please come in quickly. Xianxia immediately put on a cheeky grin, cupped his hands, and chuckled, Hey. My apologies, my apologies. Won't dare to do it again next time. Actually, you had already guessed his identity was unusual. Yesterday, you sent Huan and a dozen crows to track them the entire way, using shared vision. From tracking the suspects to discovering the factory. Even the raid's success was entirely due to your input. That was indeed a human trafficking den. You also witnessed firsthand a large number of armed enforcement officers rushing in and arresting people. You also saw Xianxia being surrounded and protected by people. Although you didn't participate in the subsequent actions, you could be considered to have witnessed it firsthand. and even assisted the police in taking down a criminal syndicate. You thought to yourself, Xianxia lied yesterday to trick you into helping. So today, there was absolutely no need for him to lie again. At this moment, Luo, who looked at you and Xianxia, finding these two young men truly interesting, he immediately laughed heartily and entered the zoo. Once inside the zoo, Xianxia then vividly recounted yesterday's true events. Luo, who, meanwhile, quietly observed you from the side. He noticed that you, this young man, were not afraid of death at all. You didn't participate in the mission simply because you found it troublesome. However, when it came to discussing whether to accept a public commendation, Luo, who never expected that you would simply refuse. Your reasoning was simple. If the commendation was public, and the details of how you used crows to solve the case would be revealed, then it might help your future live streams. But if the police didn't intend to make it public, then there would only be risks with no benefits. Luo, who responded with a smile. All right then. If anything happens at the zoo in the future, and you need our enforcement team, just contact us directly. We will definitely do our best to say it. He left the zoo sighting work as an excuse. You waved goodbye with a smile. You sighed inwardly, thinking it's easier when someone helps. Then you turned back and started today's live stream. Little did you know Xianxia hadn't left. He waited until noon, insisting on taking you out for a meal. The two of you were about the same age. After a few glasses of baijiu, you instantly felt like brothers who had met their match. You talked about everything, but the drunk Xianxia actually cried and poured his heart out to you. As the son of the director of the Yunhai City Law Enforcement Bureau, he had become a joke in his circle. Others started companies and dated beautiful women, but he had achieved nothing due to his father's prejudice. He wasn't pursuing extravagance. He just wanted basic vanity and respect. So he was extremely grateful to you, because you helped him get revenge on his father after many years. At the very least, he could stand tall in front of his father from now on. When it came to parents, your mood instantly plummeted. Xianxia then learned that your parents had passed away, and you inherited a bankrupt zoo alone, battling debt of tens of millions on your own. His own troubles were nothing compared to the tens of millions of debt you carried. Instantly insignificant. In the afternoon, you started live streaming again. Until 5 p.m., you casually glanced at your reputation points, only 38. Your heart sank. Your live stream had been exploding with popularity these past 2 days, reaching a peak of 160,000 viewers. You received so many gifts you couldn't count them. But the reputation points were increasing slower and slower. After summarizing, you suddenly realized the key was repetition. There were many people in the live stream, but most were old fans, who had already contributed reputation points. What they were interested in now was you, the animal trainer, and that divine bird, not the zoo itself. So if you wanted to increase reputation quickly, the main focus had to be the zoo. However, understanding was one thing. Right now, you still needed to make money, because you had to alleviate the pressing debt pressure first. Only then could you hire employees, expand the park, introduce animals. Every step required a massive amount of money. So you closed the live stream and immediately opened the back end. You withdrew all the money from yesterday's and today's live streams at once. Yesterday you made a net profit of 112,000. Today was even more explosive. A net profit of 198,000. It was all because a few pet food brand sponsors went all out to compete for the top spot. The wealthy ones directly used Douyin's #1. They threw gifts as if they were free. Then you withdrew the money. After deducting taxes, the amount that arrived was a full 274,000 plus. You then flipped through your phone's private messages. Sure enough, a few brand representatives had contacted you. Some wanted you to promote their products. Some wanted you to run advertisements. But you directly refused. Although this money was earned faster, it was also easy to fail. Live streaming was your only source of income now. It was better to be stable. Putting away your phone, you often stretched. You looked up. Outside the window, nearly 200 ducks were densely packed. Enough to make your scalp tingle. And that black crow was like an unparalleled bodyguard. Standing outside the window, all those ducks now regarded him as their king. This was of course the result of you exchanging it for spirit-nourishing pills. Yesterday you mixed the last spirit-nourishing pill and beast spirit pills together and had them share. Although the effect was not as good as H1, it was enough to make them loyal and make these crows unable to stop. They would even fight for the spirit pills. They couldn't be driven away. Just then, the 2 soul-receiving pills rewarded by the system hadn't been used yet. At this moment, you directly took out one and fiercely threw it to H1. You asked H1, "Is it to swallow alone or share? You decide for yourself." H1 precisely caught the soul-receiving pill in its mouth. Instinct drove him to swallow it in one gulp. But he looked at the dense crowd of companions, and surprisingly chose to fly out. Immediately after, he threw the soul-receiving pill into a water basin. The pill instantly dissolved. Spiritual energy overflowed. H1 let out a loud quack. The flock of ducks on the tree instantly fell down. The scene was extremely magnificent. This was H1's kingly aura. It's a pity that this good thing, the pill, was simply not enough. The spirit awakening pills were gone. Only one soul-receiving pill was left. You instantly found yourself strapped for resources. Just as you were worrying about this, you looked at the ducks filling the sky. Suddenly, you slapped your forehead. Do I have to wait until there are lions and tigers to open the park? Aren't ducks okay? After all, these are second-class protected animals. Which zoo doesn't have lions and elephants? But who has seen 100 or 200 ducks that obey your commands? What's more crucial is that others can't even raise them if they want to. Because if the place is too small, the ducks will have problems. If the place is too big, they'll directly return to nature. Now you completely figured it out. Attracting viewers in the live stream to watch the ducks can directly promote the zoo, and reputation points will just soar up. You now have money and popularity. Once the time is right, you decided to immediately open the park. And just at this moment, Luo Jing's voice came from the stairs. "Boss Xiao, dinner's ready." Only then did you suddenly remember you had also promised Luo Jing that tonight you were going to treat her back. You immediately replied, "All right, coming." You live-streamed pre-selling late bird tickets during the day, and in the evening you still had to help Sister Luo with her back. After dinner, after Luo Jing coaxed Tao Tao to sleep, she then gently knocked on your door. You directly opened it. "Come in." Luo Jing was stunned. She had thought the treatment would be in the living room. She didn't expect it would actually be in your bedroom. Late at night, a single man and a single woman alone in one room. It just didn't feel right. She hesitated for a moment, but she still couldn't bring herself to leave. You glanced at her and asked, "Looking at your physique, have you practiced yoga?" Luo Jing nodded, saying she just blindly followed videos to practice. You immediately said, "That's perfect. Go get the yoga mat." Although Luo Jing was full of doubts, she still did as told. You asked expressionlessly, "The cat stretch pose, right?" Luo Jing nodded. This was a very basic stretching movement. This movement could slightly relieve her back pain, but it only treated the symptoms, not the root cause. "Do this movement," you instructed while lighting an alcohol lamp. He lit an alcohol lamp. A blush appeared on Little Jin's face. Doing this movement in front of a man made her feel somewhat ashamed. But she thought to herself, she, a divorced person with a child, what could a young and promising boss like him possibly be thinking? What thoughts could there be? Thinking of this, she steeled her heart and directly lay prone on the yoga mat. Luo Jing was indeed someone who regularly exercised her waist. Her astonishing, exquisite curves, that deadly waist-to-hip ratio. You cursed inwardly. What a deadly temptress! Luo Jing's face was already red down to her neck. But when she turned her head, she was completely stunned. You actually placed both hands directly onto the alcohol lamp to scorch them. Your hands quickly became scalding hot and red. The next second, you suddenly half-squatted, firmly pinching the sides of her lower back with both hands. Your thumbs pressed down hard towards the lumbar demon eye points. Luo Jing let out a cry of pain. She only felt a pair of red-hot iron tongs pinching her. However, after the severe pain, 2 streams of heat fiercely surged into her body. Her back pain was instantly relieved. Actually, you, of course, didn't know any massage techniques. Maintaining the posture was all to deceive others. Everything was just to make it convenient for you to perform the profound spirit art. You pinched for over 20 seconds. When the temperature in your hands disappeared, you heated them again, repeating this a full 20-odd times. Each time, her back pain would be relieved a bit, until the 20th time ended. Her back pain surprisingly completely disappeared. Done. You extinguished the alcohol lamp and wiped your hands with a wet wipe. Luo Jing rubbed her back, feeling an unprecedented lightness. But just as she was about to thank you, she discovered you were covered in sweat. Your face was pale, and the hand you used to wipe sweat was even more frighteningly red. Luo Jing's heart clenched tightly. For treating my illness, she actually. You looked at her and smiled slightly. What's wrong? Your hands. Luo Jing's voice trembled with heartache. But you waved your hand dismissively. Oh, it's nothing. I have special skills. It just looks scary. At most, it'll hurt for one night, and be fine by tomorrow morning. As you spoke, you intentionally or unintentionally clenched your hand, seemingly not wanting her to see. But the more casually you spoke, the more Luo Jing's heart ached. Especially the phrase hurt for one night made her completely break down. You, for treating her illness, actually sacrificed so much. Luo Jing's eyes instantly turned red. How can that be called nothing? But you just waved your hand. Oh, come on, it's fine. As long as your back can be cured. What's this compared to that? You also told her this was just the first course of treatment. It would take 3 consecutive days to be completely cured. You put on a complete act. Not only were your hands frighteningly red, but you also hid them behind your back and subtly trembled. This detail, Luo Jing keenly caught. Her emotions instantly erupted. No one had ever been so good to her. Thinking of how you also stood up for her and called the Duck brothers, she hated herself for getting this illness. I won't get treated anymore. Luo Jing's voice was choked with sobs. But you suddenly straightened your face. It's nothing. Just complete 3 courses of treatment and you'll be fine. Gratitude, guilt, and feeling wronged, a mix of emotions. But she was a single mother. Her daughter was right across the room. Her last bit of composure made her restrain herself. Just at this moment, from the room across, her daughter's faint cry suddenly came. This sound instantly woke Luo Jing up. I'll go over first. She lowered her head and quickly fled from your room. As a result, the moment she left, you immediately shook your hands twice. That frightening red color instantly faded. The spiritual energy dissipated. You comfortably snuggled into bed and immediately started browsing on your phone. Cultivation? Impossible. This world's spiritual energy is thin. It's better to gain reputation and wait for system rewards. You opened your phone. As expected, you scrolled to something interesting. An account named Yingying Little Fairy, the one who previously stirred up trouble and cursed you during a live stream. She surprisingly posted another video. In the video, she had a plump, beauty-filtered face, crying and complaining that she was cyberbullied. She threw out a bunch of private message screenshots, saying she was insulted by your brain-dead fans to the point of depression. She also asserted confidently, saying she personally saw the zoo owner using a drone, insisting that you and those anti-fake influencers were in cahoots. When you saw this, you were furious. Is this person sick? But when you opened the comments section, you instantly felt great. Over 2,000 likes. The number of comments surprisingly reached 29,000. Among them, at least 28,000 were all cursing her. The comments section was even crazier. Among them, an account named Little Zhang's Therapy. You curiously clicked into it. A blue V-verified account suddenly appeared before your eyes. This account surprisingly had 120,000 followers. And a video she posted was precisely the cause of Little Fairy being attacked by the entire internet. The video featured a handsome young man who made serious, well-produced content. He began by saying a fan had submitted a post, asking him to analyze it from a legal perspective. Then he showed Little Fairy Yingying's video, displaying various screenshots, and explained the whole story clearly. Finally, he presented a shocking conclusion. If Little Fairy couldn't produce evidence, proving that her live stream was fake, then she would be suspected of spreading rumors and defamation. This video's like count actually reached as high as 165,000. Seeing this, you were absolutely thrilled. You almost wanted to give this kid a bonus. You immediately glanced at his account's location. It was actually in Yunhai. The location was Yunhai University of Political Science and Law. Without hesitation, you immediately opened the private message and sent him a message. The next morning, in men's dormitory 308 at Yunhai University of Political Science and Law, Zhang Wei. Your video went viral again. A roommate knocked on Zhang Wei's bed frame. Zhang Wei sat up, rubbing his eyes, still half asleep. Another roommate, however, laughed and said, "Come on, Zhang Wei, you really have too much free time on your hands. You finally got a blue V, and you're not even thinking about making money? You can't even pay back your Huabei. Why are you still arguing with them? Even if these videos go viral, you won't get any ads." Zhang Wei rubbed his eyes, but with a look of disdain, he said, "Do you think I don't want to make money? But I just want to go up against these morally corrupt people." The buddy lying by his bed just scoffed. "It's a big forest, all kinds of birds exist. Can you contend with all of them?" Zhang Wei, however, instantly became alert. With a wave of his hand and righteous indignation, he said, "That's right. It's a big forest, all kinds of birds exist. So why can't there be me, this one? A bird who specifically loves to seriously contend with the spoiled elements of society. This is my most basic sense of justice." As a law student, his roommates were instantly speechless. Tiger Bro, lying by the bed, gave a thumbs up and said, "Awesome. Wei Zi, your awareness is truly high. So, since your awareness is so high, pay back half the money you owe me first." Zhang Wei immediately looked embarrassed. Go, stop messing around. I have an interview today. If it's successful, I'll treat you to braised beef noodles tonight. Gugu gave him the middle finger, but didn't make things difficult for him anymore, because everyone in the dorm knew. Zhang Wei's family background was indeed not very good. Just then, he habitually opened Tongdo Video. Messages had long since piled up. He was surprised to find that someone had actually sent him a red envelope via private message. What shocked him even more was the sender's ID, Yang'an Zhu Presale Zhongshengzi. Zhang Wei excitedly clicked open the private message. It was exactly the message you had sent. "Brother, I'm Chao Yang, the owner of Yang'an Zhu. If you have time, could you come to the zoo for a chat?" Immediately after, he clicked open the red envelope you sent. A full 500 yuan. "Holy crap!" he shrieked, startling the entire dorm senseless. Zhang Wei excitedly held up his phone, his eyes wide, shouting, "My idol wants to chat with me." What? His roommates were still worried he was being scammed, but the next second he had already rushed out the door. Meanwhile, on the other side, you were at the zoo early in the morning. Xianxia had already come knocking. He brought back all the zoo's documents and returned them all to you. After speaking, Xianxia lifted his chin and pointed to the crows on a distant tree. "How about it? Are your crows registered? The call I made, this is me trying to help you out. And do you a favor. Who knew you'd roll your eyes? These birds aren't mine. They belong to the natural world. You see, they insisted on coming here to play on their own. I didn't raise them." As soon as these words came out, Xianxia froze. Immediately after, you changed your tone. "However, I do indeed need to reopen the zoo today. I need to order a batch of tickets. It's urgent, so I'll have to trouble you to make a trip." Xianxia was speechless on the spot. "Damn, I'm at least the director's son, right? You're making me go for such a small matter? Isn't this a waste of talent?" You simply raised a hand, offering 1,000 yuan for errand fees. Xianxia's tone instantly changed with incredible smoothness. Guaranteed delivery within 2 hours. Before he finished speaking, he had already slipped away and was out of sight. You smiled contentedly and turned to go back and start a live stream to announce the news of the 10 a.m. zoo opening. But just at this moment, another car directly stopped at the main entrance of the park. Your brows instantly furrowed. The parking lot was just outside the gate. Why do these people insist on blocking the turnstile entrance with their car? The next second, a well-dressed young man and woman got out of the car. From afar, they waved at you. "Mr. Chow." You ungraciously pressed the remote control. The young man smiled and extended his hand. "Hello, Mr. Chow. We are from Green Forest Zoo." You gave a shallow handshake and asked coldly, Is there something? The woman immediately raised an eyebrow, seemingly extremely dissatisfied with your attitude. You should know that Green Forest Zoo is Yunhai City's largest zoo. What kind of attitude is this? However, the young man still spoke with a smile. It's like this, Mr. Chow. Our boss would like to hire you to come to our zoo, to serve as an animal trainer. He sent me to invite you to come over for an interview. Rest assured, the benefits will definitely be excellent. As soon as these words came out, you were so angry you laughed. You're poaching talent, and you've come to poach the boss himself. I'm live streaming to promote my own zoo, clearly intending to reopen. Yet you directly came here to ask me to work at your zoo? Sorry, I'm not interested. You flatly refused. The young man still wanted to persuade you further, but you spoke again, stating clearly, no need. My zoo is about to reopen immediately. I don't plan to work for others. But precisely that young woman frowned and challenged you. Mr. Chow, we are inviting you politely. You don't need to have such a cold attitude, do you? Our boss said the benefits are excellent. You should at least show basic respect. And go meet him. You coldly glanced at her. Oh? Is your boss very worthy of respect? If he wants to see me, I must respect him. The woman instantly became red-faced with anger. She immediately started to rant. How do you speak? Do you have any manners? You narrowed your eyes slightly, staring intently at her. The woman immediately felt as if she was being stared at by a venomous snake. The next second, your cold voice rang out. Clean your mouth up. Get it straight. You came to invite me, not me begging to work for you. What, do I owe you something? What you hated most was this kind of self-righteous idiot who came to invite me yet acted like a boss. That young woman was so angered by you that she widened her eyes. Get out. You calmly tossed out 2 words and turned to leave. Who knew the woman, exasperated with anger, directly shouted, 100,000. A monthly salary of 100,000. You'd use our zoo's account to live stream, plus commission bonuses, and the 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund. It was obvious this was their trump card. They intended to overwhelm you with money. She just wanted to see your embarrassed look as your attitude changed. Sure enough, you stopped. The young woman immediately became smug. She held her head high and puffed out her chest. You're tempted, aren't you? You're quite capable, aren't you? A monthly salary of 100,000, for ordinary people, is indeed an extremely tempting income. But unexpectedly, you suddenly turned around, looking at her with eyes that saw an idiot. Are you an idiot? Have you seen a doctor? If you don't know how much my live stream income is, then go find out for yourself. I don't want to listen to you speak right now. I'm afraid your idiocy is contagious. Now get out quickly. These words made the 2 people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They instantly shivered violently. The man was still somewhat clear-headed. He pulled the woman and started to walk out. But just at this moment, you saw outside the turnstile a young man standing cautiously. Even though the turnstile was open, he didn't come in. When he saw you, he immediately waved his hand. You smiled and waved back at him, signaling him to come in. This handsome young man was none other than Zhang Wei, the male university student from Shaozhong Therapy. Zhang Wei immediately beamed with joy, trotting in. Hello, Boss Chow. My name is Zhang Wei. You smiled and replied, welcome, welcome. Come inside, let's talk. Zhang Wei looked at you with admiration. Brother Chow, your bird training is incredible. I've never seen anything so amazing. Who knew his tone would suddenly change? It's just that tutorial you're selling on Izhan. It's too expensive, 1988 per copy. Otherwise, I'd definitely get one. Your smiling face froze instantly. What are you talking about? What bird training tutorial? You instantly felt something was off, because Zhang Wei's expression didn't look like a joke. You immediately retorted, I only registered an account on Douyin. I don't have time for other platforms at all. These past few days, besides live streaming, I've been researching the Jade Beast art and studying the spiritual Qi Elixir C. Everything has to be figured out by myself. You don't even have time to make your own live stream clips, let alone sell courses on Izhan. So you skeptically took out your phone, downloaded Izhan and directly searched for your name. The next second you were utterly dumbfounded. An account prominently appeared on the screen. Home in the zoo. Holy son of the beast Taming Sect. It actually had 620,000 followers. It was even certified as a well-known uploader. What was even more outrageous was that, in just 4 days, he had posted over 50 clips of your live streams. And in his storefront, a set of Ancestral Bird Training Methods online course was prominently displayed. Priced at $19.88, 191 copies already sold. You were instantly furious. What the F? You worked hard to buy equipment, waited for live streams, and streamed for an entire day, not even having time to eat. Yet, after all this exhausting work these past few days, you only earned 300,000 to 400,000. But someone who just re-uploaded videos earned nearly 400,000 by just lifting a finger. This was simply outrageous. Just then, Zhang Wei cautiously leaned over. Brother, don't tell me this account really isn't yours. You gave him an annoyed glare. Do I look like I graduated from a performing arts school? Zhang Wei sharply drew in a breath, his face changing dramatically, because this meant things were getting serious. He tremblingly revealed an even more shocking piece of news. Brother, it's not just Izhan. Weisher, Manzhou, Lushu, and even Miho Tao, they all have your pirated accounts. And there are 2 other platforms, also selling your 1988 tutorial. You were instantly enraged, directly asking him, is this illegal? Zhang Wei nodded his head like he was having a seizure. Yes, a big yes. He told you that this person was just being clever, thinking that changing the name would solve everything. However, it was useless. As long as you wanted to sue him, he wouldn't even have his underwear left. The amount was enough for him to go to jail and step on sewing machines. At this, you immediately had an idea. Aren't you studying law? You can just help me sue him, right? Who knew Zhang Wei would give an awkward smile. Brother, I'm still a student. No license. No license means I can't handle lawsuits. You instantly thought of the legal department at your old company. They didn't have licenses either. So Zhang Wei quickly explained, no license means I can't help others, but I can help myself. For a company, as long as there's a formal labor contract, it's fine. You instantly had an epiphany. A brilliant idea sprang to mind. You looked at the excited Zhang Wei and smiled. Little brother, aren't you looking for a job? Come work for me. 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund. Bonuses and commissions. I'll arrange everything for you. Zhang Wei was stunned on the spot. He couldn't believe you would trust him, an inexperienced student. He stammered, Brother, you trust me? You directly patted his arm and said decisively, experience comes from practice. Practice right here with me. I'll give you enough room to make mistakes. Your words instantly made Zhang Wei's eyes redden, and his nose stung. For a university student fresh out of school, this trust and opportunity were more precious than gold. Zhang Wei's voice trembled. Brother, you're really willing to take me? You smiled calmly. Why not? However, you changed your tone and laid out the unpleasant truth up front. As for the salary, you are an intern after all, so I can't give you too much. You thought he would hesitate, but who knew Zhang Wei didn't even think about it. Forget about salary. I'd even work for free. He excitedly patted his chest. You call the shots. I have no objections. You nodded in satisfaction, then stated your conditions. Job content, legal affairs plus operations. Salary provisionally set at 8,000. But that wasn't all. You immediately dropped a bombshell. You'll get a 10% commission on all lawsuit compensation. Not only that, considering he was still a student, you even offered incredible benefits. 100 hours of test driving per month, 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund, and weekends off. You were just about to tell him to sign the contract. But the next second, Zhang Wei suddenly burst into tears. You were stunned. Hey, little brother, why are you crying? Just as you had hired a university student to handle the company's legal affairs, and were about to start a pre-sale live stream. To continue increasing the zoo's reputation, your phone suddenly rang with a notification. 1 million yuan. Your heart trembled. What's going on? Who transferred 1 million to you? You quickly checked, and the transfer was actually Wuxia Bank. Your heart skipped a beat. Could it be the bonus from the last bandit suppression operation? Sure enough, the next second, your phone rang. It was Xianxia who helped you with the tickets. Old Chow, the bonus has arrived. We each get 1 million. Did you receive it? You thought, it really is. Xianxia excitedly said on the other end. This money far exceeded expectations. The reason was that this case had received high attention from the provincial authorities. You nodded, knowing very well that the money was secondary. The real gain was the attention from the municipal bureau. With this connection, you truly had a backer. You had just hung up the phone, and before you could think much, just then, the system's notification sound suddenly boomed in your mind. Congratulations, host, for assisting law enforcement in eradicating ruthless bandits, and for enhancing the prestige of your beast taming sect. Reputation plus 20. You receive 3 spirit awakening pills, 5 spirit beast pills, and the myriad laws enlightenment art as rewards. You were instantly ecstatic. 20 points of reputation. If this were through live streaming, at least 2 million viewers would be needed to achieve it. I never thought catching human traffickers just once would get me this directly. You immediately fell into deep thought. You finally understood the true meaning of reputation. It wasn't just fame, but respect and recognition. Realizing this, you suddenly felt enlightened, so you excitedly checked your new rewards. Myriad Laws Enlightenment Art. This cultivation method could actually discover the most suitable cultivation techniques for spirit beasts, not only greatly increasing their cultivation speed, but also feeding back to you. Your eyes immediately lit up. This was simply a divine miracle. Earth's spiritual energy was sparse, and you were too lazy to cultivate. You were just worrying about how to improve your cultivation. Now it was good. You could exploit the spirit beasts to cultivate, letting them in turn carry you to new heights. You no longer hesitated, and immediately acquired the Myriad Laws Enlightenment art. At this moment, when she the parrot happened to fly back, carrying a pile of live streaming equipment. Empty string for line 199, as it's a continuation of 198. You immediately activated the cultivation method. A mysterious sensation instantly enveloped when she. The next second, you froze completely. Cheese entered the Dao. You sense that, when she has an incredibly intense craving for cheese, just as you are shocked, when she suddenly clutches his head and screams, masters penetration without a head, as if strange knowledge is drilling into his skull. He suddenly looks up, his eyes shining as he looks at you. Oh, truly a miracle. Master, quickly prepare the film for me to watch. All laws enter the exclusive use of unparalleled retail. You have mastered all contracts, so naturally you will master retail as well. But your head is covered in black hair, showing that when she's tattoo is a tattoo. But why is it tattooed so awkwardly? Still watching films, you size him up. Good heavens, I didn't realize you were not only lustful, but also a beast. When she quickly explains that the text is dry, and can be transformed and substituted, you shout back impatiently, speak human language. I want to watch movies. Big or small, anything is fine. You are speechless. You dare to say that this is the knowledge you have entered the Tao with? You thought he wanted to learn an encyclopedia, classic masterpieces, or even mathematics and physics. Unexpectedly, this guy actually wants to binge watch shows. And big or small, anything is fine. I can't even find the small ones. Can you imagine? But then you understand. What he pursues is likely knowledge to integrate into human society. You shake your head, indifferent. As long as it can speed up cultivation, let alone binge-watching shows. If he wants to watch Japanese adult films, you'll get them for him. So you immediately call out to Hei Chuan in your mind. Hei Chuan on the tree outside instantly flies in, landing steadily in front of you. Hei Chuan is here. You immediately activate the All Laws Enter the Tao ability to probe. The next second, Hei Chuan's deepest desires are exposed. King Dao. You rejoice in your heart. Hei Chuan's method of entering the Tao is to unify his subordinates. The more subordinates he has, the stronger his abilities. The more loyal his heart, the faster his cultivation grows. To put it simply, he wants to be a king. Now you understand everything. No wonder he was willing to give away that precious beast spirit pill back then, and distribute it to other crows. Those were not just little brothers. They were his army. Moreover, Heichuan's expansion has never stopped. From the initial 170 to 80, there are now a full 266 on the trees outside. Immediately give him a new mission. Starting at 8 a.m., Heichuan, every 2 hours, will lead your army to circle the zoo for 10 minutes. Heichuan immediately accepts the order. The purpose of your action is very simple. 2 words, to pretend to be a god and play tricks. The zoo opens tomorrow. There will be nothing but crows. We must maximize the sense of mystery. Imagine the sky above the city, hundreds of crows circling like a dark cloud at fixed times. Who wouldn't be curious? After sending Heichuan away, Luo Jing happens to come downstairs. He is holding accounting study materials in his arms, his face serious. But ever since you treated his illness last night, he feels inexplicably flustered whenever he sees you. You wave at Luo Jing. Sister Luo, come here a moment. Luo Jing asks curiously what's wrong. You tell him directly that the Kaiyuan Zoo opens today, and ask him to oversee the ticket booth. But Luo Jing is stunned. The Kaiyuan Zoo only has snakes, insects, rats, and birds. Who would buy tickets to see them? You naturally know what he's thinking. You point to the flock of crows outside and say, "Look at the crows." Luo Jing then realizes. He thinks this might work. After all, even he himself is deeply attracted by these mysterious crows. Then he asks, "Do we still use the old tickets? 10 yuan each." You shake your head. "I've already had new ones made. The prices are on the new tickets. 100 yuan each." Luo Jing is about to nod, but then he suddenly realizes how much. You calmly hold up one finger. 100 yuan each. Luo Jing is dumbfounded. The biggest zoo in the city only costs 100 yuan for a ticket. Spending 100 yuan just to see crows. It would be strange if this didn't get slammed on trending topics. Unexpectedly, you clapped your hands and excitedly said, "That's even better. Being infamous is still being famous." You tell him this is called clear pricing, not cheating the poor. 100 yuan to see a mysterious flock of crows. Can you see that anywhere else? If you have money, come. If you don't want to spend money, there are more shows in the live stream, but you still have a bigger ace up your sleeve that you haven't mentioned. That is, ticket prices will never increase. Today, seeing crows costs 100. In the future, when it's expanded to be the world's #1, with rare animals running everywhere, the ticket price will still be 100. The more harshly it's criticized now, the more explosive the reputation reversal will be in the future. Because zoos should never rely on ticket sales to make money. Your core philosophy is just one sentence. Let the tourists in and then fleece them. Luo Jing listened, half believing, half doubting. So that's how it is. But just then, Zhang Wei rushed in like a gust of wind. He stopped in front of you, panting. But when he saw Luo Jing next to you, he was instantly captivated. The next second, he blurted out, "Hello, sister-in-law." Luo Jing's face instantly turned crimson. You, on the other hand, were dumbfounded and amused. "What sister-in-law?" "This is Luo Jing, our veteran employee." Zhang Wei was immediately startled. He thought there must be something going on between the two of you, a man and a woman alone. He wanted to flatter, but ended up putting his foot in his mouth. You quickly introduced them. "This is Zhang Wei, our new legal counsel." Then you told Luo Jing to go to the ticket booth, preparing to have Zhang Wei first handle the lawsuit concerning his own account. At 10 a.m., Xianxia rushed back, pulling for large boxes of tickets. Without a word, you immediately started a live stream. In just 10 minutes, the number of concurrent viewers in the live stream broke 100,000. You immediately announced that the zoo was reopening today. There are no rare animals, but there's a flock of crows. When you pointed the camera at the sky, the flock of crows circling everywhere instantly caused a stir. The live stream's bullet comments were filled with cheers. But the next second, you announced the ticket price, 100 yuan per ticket. The atmosphere in the live stream suddenly changed. Instantly, it was filled with curses. However, the fiercer the criticism online, the crazier things got in reality. Countless locals were filled with enthusiasm, shouting that they were going right now. For a time, traffic converged on the road from the north of the city to the zoo. Meanwhile, inside the Yunhai mobile mansion, A stunningly beautiful woman with an amazing figure suddenly jumped off the sofa and exclaimed, "It's finally open!" She excitedly rushed into the walk-in closet. But just then, a girl who looked exactly like her walked out of the bedroom, holding a book on behavioral ecology. She frowned, looking at her sister. "Where are you going to act flirtatious again?" Her sister, Xianxia, didn't care at all. She continued to compare clothes to herself. The older sister, unable to bear it, said, "Xianxia, can't you do something proper? Stop dancing those suggestive dances. You'll affect my future." Xianxia, however, sneered, "Mind your own business. This is called showcasing beauty." As she spoke, she had already picked out a pure black evening dress, with a high slit at the bottom, which could perfectly display her beautiful legs. The older sister sighed. "What are you going to do wearing that?" Xianxia excitedly gestured, "Live streaming and taking photos. This outfit, paired with the sky full of crows, will definitely produce great results." The older sister was stunned. "Crows? What crows?" Xianxia excitedly gestured. "It's the owner of Yang'an Zoo, a super handsome man, and a beast tamer. He can command a huge flock of crows. He's incredibly handsome. A few days ago, he was live streaming Parrot Same City Express delivery. Today, the zoo is opening. I can interact with the crows up close. This outfit will be a perfect match for the crows. Could definitely make a dark blockbuster." But older sister Tong and Ya's brows were tightly furrowed. A large flock of crows. About how many? Tong and Chi thought for a moment. 100 or 200, I guess. Anyway, they were densely packed like a dark cloud. Unexpectedly, older sister scoffed. "Impossible! 200 crows? Do you know how difficult it is to train crows? They are one of the smartest bird species. Training even one is extremely difficult, let alone training so many. It's simply preposterous." Tong and Chi immediately retorted. "As everyone knows, videos can't be photoshopped. So many influencers have filmed this, and you still don't believe it." Older sister was suddenly startled. "There's a video?" Tong and Chi immediately and impatiently took out her phone, pointing the video directly at older sister's face. The next second, older sister's aloof face instantly filled with horror. In the video, a man walked out, accompanied by countless crows. When he stopped, the flock of crows landed. Then he looked towards a certain direction, and all the crows surprisingly stared uniformly at the same place. And what shocked her the most was, the man hadn't given any specific commands, yet he could perfectly control the crows. Older sister was utterly stunned. "Are you sure this isn't AI-generated footage?" Scrolling down, videos of this trending type were everywhere. Older sister pondered for a moment, then suddenly asked, "You just said this zoo is open?" Tong and Chi nodded. "That's right. I'll go with you." After older sister said that, she shoved the phone back into younger sister's hand. Tong and Chi froze. "What are you going to do?" But older sister couldn't be bothered to respond to her. She had to figure out what was going on. After all, she was an expert at the Wildlife Research Institute. In no time, the two of them were driving a polo with a large roof, straight to Yang'an Zoo. But as soon as they arrived, the two of them were dumbfounded. Outside the zoo, the parking lot was already overflowing with cars. With great difficulty, they found an empty spot to park. The next second, Tong and Chi lifted her skirt and excitedly pointed at the sky above the zoo. "Sister, look!" Tong and Ya sharply raised her head, only to see countless crows darkening the sky. The entire zoo was bustling with noise and excitement. Without a word, the two of them immediately paid 200 yuan for tickets. But as soon as they entered, Tong and Chi immediately ran off and vanished. However, Tong and Ya had no mind to bother with her. Her eyes were already utterly mesmerized by the scene before her. The crows filling the sky were surprisingly landing one by one. Some landed on signs, some landed on railings, even directly on tourists' shoulders. Tourists were frantically taking photos, and the crows surprisingly showed no fear. Even more incredibly, some crows would even actively land on tourists' shoulders, posing for pictures, causing continuous screams of excitement throughout the area. Tong and Ya felt like she was dreaming. Just then, she saw that, at the entrance of the administration office hall, some people were gathered. The glass door was tightly locked, and a man was live-streaming inside. His figure, his attire, it was the mysterious boss from the video. She immediately stepped forward, preparing to knock on the door. But just as she stepped onto the stairs, whoosh, a huge crow suddenly flew past in front of her. Xianxia screamed in fright and stepped back. The crow landed on the windowsill, tilting its head and staring intently at her. At that moment, Xianxia trembled inside. She surprisingly, from the eyes of a bird, perceived a sense of warning. After the initial shock, Xianxia immediately retreated a few steps, took out her phone and started recording. As she filmed, she explained in a trembling voice, "I am researcher Xianxia. The crows here are exhibiting unprecedented behavioral anomalies. Their physical characteristics are completely wild, yet they are being collectively trained." Once the video was done, she originally wanted to send it directly to Professor Huang, but she was just an intern and simply didn't have the professor's contact information, so he could only send the video to a researcher assistant, Senior Brother Song, and reiterate, "Senior Brother Song, please inform Professor Huang about this." Meanwhile, Song Qing, a researcher assistant at Yunhai Agricultural University, had just hung up with his girlfriend. When he saw the message from Xianxia, he casually tapped to open the video, but the next second his eyes suddenly widened. Over 200 crows, such a widespread behavioral anomaly. My God, the research value of this is immense. Yunhai City actually harbors such a miracle. Someone at the research institute had already seen the video, but they all thought it was an AI special effect. No one took it seriously at all. However, the moment Song Qing saw the video, he was completely blown away. He subconsciously reached to call Professor Huang, but he suddenly remembered the professor was in a meeting. A thought began to wildly grow in his mind. The research value of this flock of crows is heaven-defying. This is a major project that could apply for massive funding. But if he reported it now, he'd just be a messenger. All the credit would go to others. He wouldn't even be able to join the research team. But what if he struck first now, seizing the initiative, and obtained the first-hand data? By the time Professor Huang found out, he would have already established himself at the scene. By then, the special task force would definitely have a place for him. Thinking of this, he trembled with excitement. He still dialed Professor Huang's number, but he knew the professor would definitely not answer. Sure enough, after 2 beeps, the call was directly hung up. Song Qing's lips curved into a smile. He could begin. He immediately called 3 interns, grabbed the equipment and drove straight to the zoo. The moment they got out of the car, Song Qing saw crows filling the sky. He instantly frantically started unpacking camera tripods and sound recording equipment. Several large boxes were hastily moved out of the car. Song Qing didn't forget to remind them, "Bird tranquilizer gun. Don't forget the bird tranquilizer gun." The group, carrying large and small bags, rushed inside. But they were immediately stopped by Luo Jing. Song Qing shouted to Luo Jing in the ticket booth, "Open the gate, quickly." Luo Jing looked puzzled. "Are you from the Agricultural University Research Institute? Coming to film crows?" Luo Jing became more wary. "Did our boss send you?" Song Qing impatiently lied. Yes. But Luo Jing was still unsure. He pulled out his phone directly. "Wait a moment. I'll confirm." At this moment, you were interacting with your buddies in the live stream. Suddenly, your phone rang. You immediately muted your microphone and answered the call. On the other end of the line, Luo Jing's voice came through. "Boss Xiao, a few people from the Research Institute have arrived at the gate. They say they're here to film crows." You paused. The Research Institute filming crows? You didn't think much of it, and simply said, "Let them in." After hanging up, you didn't give it another thought. Wasn't having people from the Research Institute come exactly the effect you wanted? And the moment you hung up the phone, a farce had already begun in your zoo. Luo Jing opened the turnstile. Song Qing, as if it were his right, grabbed his things and rushed inside. The interns behind him even impatiently glanced at Luo Jing. Their faces were filled with the arrogance of, "Who do you think you are?" In their view, you, the boss, must have given Luo Jing a severe dressing down. After all, they were from the esteemed Research Institute. Just then, Xianxia quickly came forward to greet them. but she only saw Song Qing and a few others, and was momentarily stunned. Assistant Song. Where are Professor Huang and the others? Song Qing, seeing the beautiful woman, immediately smiled and said, Professor Huang is in a meeting. I brought an advanced team over first. Let's set up the equipment first. However, Tong Enya instantly caught on. You didn't inform Professor Huang at all. Although she had just arrived, she wasn't stupid. This was clearly an attempt to bypass the professor and claim the credit for himself. If he hadn't had no other contact information, he wouldn't have approached Song Qing at all. Song Qing, however, gave him a reassuring look. I've made the call. Just relax and follow my lead. Tong Anya secretly frowned. This person was too overbearing. But he was just an intern. There was nothing he could do. He could only point to the management hall. The boss should be live streaming. Should we wait for him to finish before applying? To his surprise, Song Qing laughed. The interns behind him also burst into laughter, as if they had heard the biggest joke about applying. Song Qing shook his head, with a look of disdain. Anya, you've just arrived, and you still don't have a clear understanding of your position. Does our research institute still need to apply to him for things? After speaking, he waved vigorously at the people behind him. Set up the equipment. Tong Anya wanted to speak but hesitated. But Song Qing had already led his people towards the big tree. Instantly, they set up their formation. Long-range drones started shooting rapidly. Tong Anya looked at the chaotic scene. Remembering that his own equipment was still at the research institute, he also wanted to participate in the project. So he immediately drove back to get his things. And just over half an hour after Song Qing and his team started filming, he suddenly looked up, staring intently at the crows flying towards the distant mountains. An intern was still muttering beside him. Didn't Anya say that these crows were all tamed by the boss? Song Qing scoffed. Tamed for a lifetime? Do you think that's possible? Have you ever seen an animal that can be tamed without food? These crows can find food on their own. Why exactly are they coming back? A glint of golden light flashed in Song Qing's eyes. A terrible thought emerged. Or is it that they went into the mountains not to find food at all? A hint of madness flashed in his eyes. Catch two and put GPS trackers on them. I want to see what exactly they are up to in the mountains. He suddenly turned around, ordering the intern, get the bird-catching gun out. Shi Shiyuan was stunned on the spot. This was already a serious violation. Not notifying Professor Huang was one thing, but now they were going to directly interfere with them. For research animals, the first principle is non-interference unless absolutely necessary. But Song Qing urged him fiercely, hurry up, in order to snatch the credit. He no longer cared about anything. Shi Shiyuan did not dare to disobey. He could only rummage through the box for the bird-catching gun. At this time, the tourists gradually dispersed. The entire park instantly became sparse. Song Qing found a crow's perch. He raised the gun and aimed it at one of them. The crow tilted its head and looked at him, and actually let out a warning-like caw. Just then, Tong Anya, who had returned with his things, shouted angrily, "What are you doing?" However, Song Qing completely ignored him, and directly pulled the trigger. With a muffled bang, a fine silk net burst open in the air. The crow had no time to react. It was instantly caught squarely in the net. It flapped wildly in the net, crying strangely as it fell to the ground. Song Qing walked forward, smiling, and picked up the net bag. His casual manner was like carrying a chicken just bought from the market. Tong Anya was completely enraged. He rushed up and questioned Song Qing. What exactly are you doing? Song Qing, however, sneered, Junior sister, go get the GPS. But before he could finish speaking, he saw Tong Anya's face filled with horror, staring intently behind him. Song Qing stiffened. The next second, the sound of wind suddenly rose behind him. The sound of countless wings flapping instantly merged into a single roar. He suddenly turned his head, only to see a dense flock of crows, furiously diving towards him. The most terrifying thing was that, in order to ambush him, not a single crow made a sound. When Song Qing realized this, it was already too late. A crow flew straight into his face, nearly poking out his eye, followed by countless bird beaks and sharp claws. furiously attacking his body. Song Qing was instantly besieged, emitting cries of agony. He desperately shielded his face with both hands. He hunched his body and struggled frantically. The ground was already covered in blood. Hong Anya and the other interns were all scared senseless. They took off their clothes and waved them frantically, but it was useless. The flock of crows seemed to have gone berserk. They relentlessly targeted Song Qing alone, attacking fiercely. Just then, Song Qing's fear suddenly transformed into towering rage. Get lost! Get lost! He violently swung the bird-catching gun in his hand. Several crows were swept away on the spot. The flock of crows scattered with a loud commotion, giving him a moment to catch his breath. But unexpectedly, Song Qing, however, pointed at the flock of crows and let out a beast-like roar. I'll kill you all. With that, he actually reloaded the bird-catching gun. He actually wanted to aim at the densest part of the crows and fire another shot. If he were to net them this time, he could catch at least 6 or 7 of the enraged heroes. He was capable of anything. Just then, you burst out of the management office hall like a gust of wind. Song Qing hadn't even raised his gun. You had already rushed in front of him. A size 45 foot, carrying terrifying momentum, smashed hard into Song Qing's chest and abdomen. He was kicked flying 3 or 4 meters away, rolling twice on the ground. Curled up like a shrimp, his face flushed red, veins bulging. But you didn't stop at all. Those interns waving their clothes didn't believe it either. You kicked them all to the ground instantly, one by one. The speed was so fast that no one could react. Only then did Hong Anya clearly see your face. It was actually Chaoyang, the zoo owner from the live stream just now. You stared coldly at the people on the ground. You had just finished your live stream and wanted to go say hello. But before you even left, He Chuan's divine stone told you something was wrong here. You rushed over just in time and saw Song Qing sweeping and injuring several crows with his gun. That's why you showed no mercy with that kick. Song Qing only felt as if his chest was trapped by a giant boulder. Even breathing caused searing pain. Your gaze was icy cold. You sternly questioned, who allowed you rotten-mouthed idiots to cause trouble here? Song Qing was in too much pain to speak. Shi Chiyuan, however, rubbed his chest and shouted, We are from the Agricultural University Research Institute. You're hitting research personnel. He wanted to use his identity to intimidate you, to make you hesitant. Unexpectedly, you became even more furious after hearing that. I let you in, without even charging an entrance fee. And you attack my crows? The intern actually retorted loudly. What do you know? We wanted to attach trackers to them, for research purposes. You scoffed on the spot. Research? Did I give you permission to research? Just then, Song Qing finally recovered. Towering rage and humiliation instantly overwhelmed him. He wasn't even this angry when attacked by crows. After all, they were animals. But your kick, especially after the intern revealed their identity, you still dared to be so defiant. He abruptly scrambled up from the ground, roaring at you. We are doing academic research. Do I need your permission? What are you even? It's just a damn crow. You actually dare to lay hands on me. His angry roar had not yet faded when you kicked him hard in the face again. Song Qing let out a furious roar of impotent rage. Hong Anya was still watching nearby as you brutally beat him like this. His humiliation instantly reached its peak. But if he fought back, he was no match for you at all. He could only point at you and utter vicious curses. You're dead. You're dead. I'm calling the police right now for assaulting a researcher. I'll make sure you rot in jail. I'll make you lose your reputation and ruin your life. The next second, he took out his phone and started dialing. The other interns also gathered around, each one glaring at you menacingly. It was clear that this wouldn't end today, especially that Song Qing. His identity as an assistant researcher made him extremely haughty. Just then, a Shi Chiyuan actually called out to Tong Anya, feigning concern. Anya, he didn't accidentally hurt you just now, did he? His tone was both concerned and carried a hint of anger towards you. You immediately looked at Tong Anya. Only then did you realize that this beautiful woman was actually with them. But Tong Anya was already cursing idiot in her heart. Why bother with me? Now look what you've done. You'll definitely think we're in this together. He could only brace himself and sincerely apologized to you. I'm truly sorry. We just wanted to conduct research. But before he could finish speaking, Song Qing yelled loudly, directly interrupting, "No need to apologize to him. He's already made his call." With bloodshot eyes, glaring fiercely at you, gritting his teeth. "Today I'll let you know exactly what my status is." In his eyes, you were just someone who ran a zoo, while he was a social elite. You hitting him was like a stone striking fine jade. It'd be strange if that stone wasn't crushed. However, you merely cast a cold glance at the woman, then turned to check on the injured crows. One of them was severely injured. You couldn't possibly, in front of them, use your profound spirit healing arts. With your current cultivation level, you couldn't possibly conceal that spiritual energy. So you immediately picked up the crow and quickly walked into the administration office. But this action, in Song Qing's eyes, was cowardice. "Are you scared?" Song Qing sneered, gritting his teeth. "Hiding anywhere is useless." But that Tong Anya, however, simply ignored them. She quickly walked to the equipment and actually started copying data. In her eyes, there was only research. Just then, outside, police sirens blared loudly. The third ring road never had traffic jams. In just 7 or 8 minutes, an enforcement vehicle instantly stopped at the zoo entrance. The guards couldn't stop them. A male and a female enforcement officer rushed straight in. They quickly ran to Song Qing, and seeing Song Qing covered in blood, the enforcement officers were instantly shocked. "What happened? Who called the police?" Song Qing immediately pointed to himself and shouted, "It was me! Officers!" He immediately pulled out his ID, his voice filled with grievance. "We are from the Agricultural University Research Institute. We came here to observe crows. Who knew this zoo owner would attack me like a mad dog?" After speaking, he spread his arms, revealing his disheveled, blood-stained body. After the female officer checked the ID, her expression instantly changed. "Assistant researcher. That's a high-achieving student with a master's or doctorate degree. How could such a gentle and refined person possibly cause trouble proactively?" She immediately returned the ID to Song Qing and sternly asked, "Where's the person who hit you?" Song Qing suddenly pointed to the main hall. "He's in there." The two enforcement officers immediately walked quickly over. Just as they were about to enter, you had already healed the crow and calmly walked out. You looked at them and calmly said, "Officers, you arrived quite quickly." The male officer frowned and in an unfriendly tone asked, "You're the one who hit him?" To their surprise, you simply nodded cleanly and decisively. This action made the two officers freeze on the spot. "He hit someone and is still so self-righteous?" But you immediately spoke up. "These crows are all Class 2 protected animals. He was wildly attacking them with an iron rod. Could I just stand by and do nothing? There are surveillance cameras above. I'll retrieve the footage for you right now." As soon as these words were uttered, the two officers' brows furrowed even deeper. Not only does this guy show no remorse, he's utterly arrogant. The female officer immediately snorted coldly, "No need for you to retrieve it. We'll check it ourselves. Come back with us and explain the situation clearly." You, however, asked back in confusion, "Shouldn't we first check the surveillance footage and clarify what happened?" Your calm and indifferent expression completely ignited the female officer's anger. "Do I need you to teach me how to do my job? Whatever I say, you'd best cooperate now." At this moment, he didn't care who was right or wrong. He simply couldn't stand your arrogant demeanor. Before he finished speaking, his hand actually reached directly for the handcuffs on his waist. The implied threat was obvious. But just then, you saw him touch the handcuffs, and a sneer actually appeared at the corner of your mouth. The next second, you made an even more astonishing move. You directly extended both of your wrists forward. This was simply a blatant provocation. The officer instantly became furious. He just wanted to scare you a bit. Now, if he didn't cuff you, wouldn't he look like he was just posturing? "Fine, you think I don't dare to cuff you?" He quickly pulled out the handcuffs. With 2 clicks, he directly put them on you. He stared at you coldly throughout. His eyes were full of scorn. "Let's go. Of course, I'll cooperate." You actually wanted to see how this female officer would handle the aftermath. But the next second, he actually turned to the blood-soaked Song Qing. With a face full of apology, "I'm sorry for making you suffer." After speaking, this female officer even bowed slightly to Song Qing. The implication was that she would definitely not let you off easily. Song Qing was instantly thrilled. He looked at you triumphantly, hoping to see regret and pleading on your face. However, you didn't even glance at him. Your gaze was fixed on the entrance of the zoo, because a large crowd of people was bustling in from there. Immediately after, the person leading them jogged over, shouting "Old Chow" as he ran. "Look who's here to personally give you an award." This voice belonged to Xianxia. Everyone was instantly drawn to them. The two officers, upon seeing them, instantly trembled all over. Their eyes nearly popped out. Behind Xianxia, surrounded by the crowd, was none other than Song Taizhan, the city bureau chief. Further back were Luo Hu, Wei Min, and Zhou Yueming, all high-ranking officials from the city bureau. They were their ultimate superiors. The two were instantly terrified. They quickly stepped forward. With a "attention" and a salute, Bureau Chief Song Taizhan, however, looked confused. His gaze swept over them. Then he saw Song Qing, covered in blood, behind you. What happened here? Song Qing and the others were also completely bewildered. The bureau chief himself had come. Those interns instantly imagined a grand drama. Song Taizhan and Song Qing both have the surname Song. No wonder Song Qing is so arrogant. So he's the bureau chief's son. Now you're really done for. But just then, Song Xingjie immediately saw on your wrist those gleaming silver handcuffs. He instantly flared up, roaring in fury. Damn it! Who the hell cuffed him? As soon as his voice fell, Song Taizhan and the others also instantly saw it. Their faces immediately turned ashen. The gazes of all the big shots instantly shot like daggers at the two officers. The two instantly turned ashen. The officer was so scared his legs went weak. He subconsciously reached for his waist. It was empty. The big shots present immediately understood that he was the one who cuffed him. Song Tieshan's thick brows furrowed in anger, his rage soaring. I cancelled all my work and personally led the team here just to present you with an award and to build good relations with Chaoyang. And what do? You come here and sabotage things in advance. The next second, he questioned in a low voice, his intimidating aura overwhelming. Why did you cuff him? Chun Jiao and Wang He were instantly dumbfounded with fear. Luo Hu shouted, Wang He, speak up. Only then did Wang He pluck up the courage to speak. We received a police report saying someone here intentionally caused harm. He pointed at Song Qing and continued. This researcher said they were studying crows, but you, the zoo owner, severely beat them up. Song Tieshan's expression darkened. He immediately pressed, Why? Why did he hit someone? Wang He was terrified. He continued to Chaoyang, saying he saw them attacking crows. Just then, Song Taizhan posed a crucial question. So, did they actually attack the crows or not? Wang He gulped hard. I don't know. Luo, who was so angry he almost kicked him, Don't know. Song Tieshan's eyes blazed with anger. If you don't know, what right do you have to arrest people? Wang He was scared out of his wits. He certainly wouldn't take the blame for this. He immediately pointed at Cheng Jiao. It wasn't me. He was the one who insisted on making the arrest. As soon as these words were spoken, Cheng Jiao instantly turned pale. He never dreamed that his abuse of authority would actually be caught red-handed by all the city's bigwigs. Song Taizhan suppressed his anger. He ordered, First, release him. Song Xingjie immediately snatched the keys and stepped forward to unlock you. But at this moment you looked at the sky and the ground, just not at him. Song Xingjie held the keys, but you kept circling to avoid him. He could only beg softly, Zong, stop fooling around. The bigwigs instantly understood. You had just helped the city bureau solve a major case today. The commendation hadn't even been received yet. Then the Project Crows you raised were beaten up. You intervened to stop it, but were arrested instead. Who could possibly swallow such an insult? Your not cursing them out on the spot was already giving them plenty of face. You were demanding an explanation from them. Seeing that the handcuffs couldn't be unlocked, Song Xianxia also got anxious. He simply reached into your pocket and pulled out your phone. He used your face to unlock it and expertly opened the surveillance footage. The next second, he handed the phone to Song Taizhan. Song Qing and the others were now utterly panicked. They finally understood. The bureau chief wasn't here to back them up at all. When Song Taizhan finished watching the surveillance footage, his immense rage instantly overflowed. In the video, these people were shooting crows with bird-catching guns and had injured several of them. This was simply outrageous. These crows were the heroes who had just established the Heavenly Palace project. What if it affected them? The consequences would be unimaginable. With a furious shout from Song Taizhan that echoed throughout the entire venue, "Arrest them all!" Not only Song Qing and his group, but even those 2 law enforcement officers who abused their authority were also taken away on the spot. As Song Qing was dragged away, he was still yelling loudly, "Bureau Chief Song, we were doing it for scientific research." He was extremely resentful in his heart. Why? Why, when the bureau chief came, didn't he side with me, a researcher? Song Qing couldn't understand why. Why did the bureau chief side with you, this lousy zoo owner? Even if he had acted first, it was still for scientific research. What contribution does a mere commoner like you make to society? However, just as they were being escorted out of the zoo entrance, all of them froze. Dozens of flower baskets and money trees were neatly arranged on both sides, all bearing congratulatory messages for a prosperous opening. And on the 2 largest flower baskets, the signature was conspicuously Song Taizhan. Looking further back, Luo Hu, Chen Weiming, Zhou Yueming, not a single one was missing. All of them were leaders from the city bureau. For the opening of a small zoo called Xiaopa Zoo, city bureau leaders personally sent flower baskets to celebrate. Suddenly, Wang He seemed to have thought of something. He shrieked in surprise at the officer escorting him. Could it be? Could this boss be the one who handled that major human trafficking case? As soon as he shouted this, Cheng Zhao's face instantly turned ashen white. As expected, the officer escorting them let out a cold laugh and looked at them with a look as if they were already dead. You found out a bit late. This one sentence completely confirmed Wang He's guess. Song Qing felt his heart had been heavily struck. The project of the major human trafficking case. This was the case that topped the trending searches a few days ago, hailed as Yunhai City's biggest case in 20 years. The Law Enforcement Bureau's Divine General, Ling Shangwang, also confiscated over 100 firearms. This immense credit was actually accomplished by you, a zoo owner. At this moment, all of Song Qing's sense of superiority instantly shattered. Wang Jiao's eyes were even more vacant. Recalling her words from earlier, she only felt like an out-and-out idiot. Just as they were being forced into the car, inside the zoo with a click, your handcuffs were finally opened by Song Xianxia. The city bureau bigwig, Song Taizhan, he actually took the initiative to extend his hand towards you. His face was full of apology. We are here today to celebrate your opening and present an award. I didn't expect to meet in this manner. I'm truly sorry. You immediately grasped his strong hand. I'm sorry to say that. I had my reasons for this. Please forgive me. It turned out that, just 2 minutes before you walked out of the management hall, you had already received a call from Song Xianxia. He told you that his dad was bringing a group of people to celebrate your opening and to chat in person. He told you to be mentally prepared. It was precisely because of this call that you deliberately reached out your hand and let Zhang Jiao casually handcuff you. Such an indiscriminately acting law enforcement officer. That's all. That was the right move. Following that, you led Song Taizhan and his group into the management office hall. The so-called award was actually a special medal custom-made by the city bureau. A golden red badge in the shape of an embroidered ball. On the back were engraved the issuance date and the words Yunhai City Law Enforcement Bureau. This was for your special contribution in the Operation Victory. Only 2 of these were made. You got one and Song Xianxia got one. After presenting the award, Song Taizhan didn't linger. He subtly inquired about your animal training skills. You, of course, bluffed your way through, directly portraying your grandfather as a folk animal training master. You were well aware that Song Tieshan's visit this time was precisely to personally observe your character and to build a good relationship. So, just 40 minutes later, he left with his people, but only left Song Xianxia behind. As he was leaving, he hinted, "You young people must interact more in the future." After seeing off the bigwig, Song Xianxia stretched his body. Suddenly he spoke, "Oh, right. I have good news for you. I plan to open a restaurant." You were stunned. "Is 1 million enough to open a restaurant?" To your surprise, Song Xianxia chuckled. "The old man finally relented and gave me another 500,000. Plus my 1 million. I'll just borrow another 7 or 8 million. You instantly had a black line on your face. "Borrow 7 or 8 million? Are you going to borrow from the king of hell?" Song Xianxia smiled even more slyly. "Just borrow from the son of the industrial and commercial no. 1 foot. Wouldn't that work?" However, you still kindly reminded him, "Don't get too deeply involved with them." Song Xianxia patted his chest and assured you, "Don't worry. I absolutely wouldn't dare go down the wrong path. Otherwise, my dad could really break my legs." You then asked, "That would take a long time to prepare, right?" Unexpectedly, Song Xianxia waved his hand. "I took over an existing 7-story building with luxury renovations. The previous owner who went into jail basically got a huge bargain. Just change the sign and it can operate." You instantly understood. For someone like Song Xianxia to open a restaurant, he wasn't just opening a restaurant. What he was opening wasn't a restaurant at all. It was more like a private members club. To put it bluntly, it was a business networking hub. You instantly realized, as long as Song Xianxia didn't cross the red line of illicit cash transactions, relying on his old man Song Tieshan's influence, his role as a middleman would have a natural advantage. His path would only broaden. At noon, after you finished eating with Song Xianxia, you immediately brought a portion for Luo Jin. This girl worked herself ragged today. She was in the ticket booth all by herself and never left. Fortunately, your daughter Tao Tao was very well behaved. Sitting quietly by the side like a little mascot, you handed him the meal. Seeing his flushed face, "Are you that hot? How much did you sell today?" Luo Jing instantly turned into a little money lover. He excitedly held up 3 fingers. 30,000. You deliberately teased him, feigning annoyance. 30,000 makes you this happy? Luo Jing, however, nodded vigorously, grinning from ear to ear. "Of course. We haven't had such good business in ages." Tao Tao, on the other hand, was full of smug pride. They all came to see the crows. Unlike me, who gets to see them every day. That smug little expression made you burst out laughing. Then you asked Luo Jing with concern, "How are you? Does your back still hurt?" Luo Jing's expression instantly turned shy. He happily shook his head. Indeed, his illness was almost cured by you. Your daily live streaming income was astonishing. The zoo had also reopened. Business was booming. Even city bureau leaders personally sent flower baskets, making everything better and better. So good that he felt it was a bit unreal. You spoke with a mischievous smile. "Tonight, I'll give you another good treatment." Luo Jing understood the implied meaning. He nodded shyly. Afterwards, you returned to the management office and live-streamed for the entire afternoon. You ended the broadcast at 5:40 p.m., and the park closed punctually at 6 p.m. You did this precisely to avoid those crazy tourists who wanted to take photos with you. At exactly 6 p.m., the tourists had mostly dispersed. You were strolling around the park, about to call Luo Jing off work for dinner. However, just then, you suddenly noticed under a large tree, in a corner of the park, a girl in a black evening gown was luring crows closer with food. A phone was propped up in front of her. She was clearly taking photos. The black evening gown, paired with the black crows, and her snow-white legs, created a strong contrast. But when you looked at her face, you instantly flew into a rage. It's that woman again. Wasn't this the woman who was with those people from the research institute earlier today? When Dong Taizhan made the arrests, she wasn't even there. She must have known things were going south and fled beforehand. I didn't expect her to change clothes and sneak back in. You think I won't recognize you just because you changed clothes? You roared, "Get out!" The girl was startled, but when she saw it was you, she immediately flashed a sweet smile. She even put her hands together, smiling somewhat alluringly. Boss, you're finally here. Please, can you make the crows cooperate so I can take some photos? I've been shooting all day, but it's still not quite right. Impatiently, I told you to get out. Didn't you hear me? From now on, people from your research institute are forbidden to enter. The girl instantly understood. She lifted her skirt and quickly ran towards you, waving her hands repeatedly. No, 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 boss, you've got the wrong person. The girl waved her hands repeatedly. The one from the research institute is my older sister. Her name is Tong Anya. My name is Tong Anchi. We're twins. She then added, but we haven't been close since we were in the womb. You frowned. Getting closer, you could indeed feel. Her aura was completely different from that other woman's. They really were twins. But the temperaments of these two sisters were worlds apart. The older sister was a cool, aloof academic, while the younger sister was glamorous and lively. Humph, you said, crossing your arms, staring at her coldly. Like older sister, like younger sister. You were sent by your sister to secretly photograph the crows, weren't you? Tong Anchi shook her head repeatedly. No, no. I'm a Maiwishi. You looked puzzled. What's that? Unexpectedly, she immediately took out her phone to show you. It's a combination of beauty and 5. It's a profession I created myself. The next second, you saw the Douyin TikTok backend she had opened. The account's homepage prominently displayed 1.58 million followers. She was actually a female internet celebrity. Flipping through it casually, the conclusion is just one word: burn. Clothes made of all sorts of fabrics, all sorts of sexy and hot items. But you have to admit he has talent. An absolutely perfect figure. His dance moves had more energy than an average female influencer. Watching him made you feel like he was full of vigor and very resilient. Exceptionally powerful. You opened your mouth impatiently, referring to the provocative dancing influencer. However, Hong Anchi immediately corrected you. It's a martial artist. You were speechless. Provocative is provocative. And they even give it a fancy name, as if sensing your doubt. Hong Anchi actually began to explain. Provocative is also beautiful. If it's beautiful, I have to study it. Besides, let's eat. It's not shameful, he said, and opened his photo album to show you the pictures he took today. As a result, you looked, and although he was provocative, he was indeed very photogenic. A black evening gown paired with crows. He looked exactly like a princess from a dark castle. Any single photo was a fashion masterpiece. The only flaw was that there were too few crows, and they couldn't interact with him. You handed the phone back to him. Unexpectedly, Tong Anchi leaned very close, and a faint scent of green chrysanthemum instantly wafted into your nostrils. Your heart stirred. You immediately stopped making things difficult for him, thinking, let's come again tomorrow to take pictures. We're closed today. You admitted he was indeed good-looking. Although he wasn't a married woman, he was indeed provocative. However, Tong Anchi suddenly bit his lower lip. Don't chase me away? We finally caught the twilight sunset. And I still want to take some photos. Okay? He grabbed your hand and started shaking it, acting spoiled. The tone of his voice had just the right amount of force. His eyes were alluring, looking up at you from below with astonishing temptation. You forcibly suppressed the anger in your heart. I'll give you another hour. But as soon as you finished speaking, Hong Anchi not only didn't let go, but instead grabbed your arm and pleaded, Old boss, I know these crows all listen to you. Can you make them cooperate with me for photos? You sneered. The crows listen to me. But why should I listen to you? Who knew Hong Anchi leaned even closer, biting his red lips. I can dance for you on the spot. He even emphasized, many top-tier streamers spend money and can't see you. But you're the first. You scoffed. Just this. Tong Anchi instantly glared at you with a fierce, yet cute, expression. Then what do you want? You didn't answer. You just stood with your hands behind your back, calmly appraising him. That's right, you just wanted to see how low this female influencer would go. You quietly circulated your energy, and your medical skills instantly saw through him. His body was filled with dense yin energy, with not a trace of yang energy mixed in. He was still in an unopened state. This made you curious. He had become like this but hadn't been with a man? Was it innate spiritual aptitude? Self-taught without external guidance? Just then, Xianxia spoke again. Then I'll dance for you 10 times. You just shook your head repeatedly. He continued, adding, I'll pay you 300 yuan per photo session. You still shook your head. At this point, Xianxia completely broke down. Aya, then what do you want? You, on the other hand, were amused. It seemed he was unusually persistent about taking photos. So, you decided to see how much he was willing to sacrifice for his pursuit. I have a request, you finally said. You said it, and Xianxia had a look of desperation. A smile played on your lips. I'm short-handed here. If you come to work, not only will you not get paid, I'll even give you a salary. Tomorrow, wear your worst outfit. The job is simple. Just like the crows, interact with customers through live streaming to attract them. As soon as you finished speaking, Xianxia looked at you with his face almost touching yours. I'm a person, and you're treating me like an animal performer? You, in order to attract customers. In order to attract customers, you. Isn't that going too far? But you nodded seriously in agreement. I will stop at nothing. As long as it can boost the zoo's reputation. If they don't like watching animals, can't they still watch beautiful women dance? Immediately after, you dropped the real bombshell. As long as you come to work, you can film all the crows however you like. In the future, there will also be more cute, manageable and fierce animals. As an employee benefit, you can film them however you want. But before you had even finished speaking, Xianxia was already nodding frantically, saying, Yes, yes, yes. I agree. He simply couldn't refuse, because he knew that a flock of wild crows was simply a rare opportunity. What's more, there was also the chance to film with other animals. So, you nodded contentedly. You'll officially start work tomorrow morning. Today, you can film until whatever time you want. Immediately after, you dropped another bombshell. What do you need to do? Just talk directly to these crows. They understand everything. Xianxia immediately said, They understand human speech? How is that possible? But you couldn't be bothered to explain, and turned to leave. But just then, you suddenly turned your head back. A smirk played on your lips. Oh, right. Remember to wear your worst clothes to work tomorrow. You paused for a moment. Your gaze turned playful. Also, after you finish filming later, remember to come upstairs to find me.